We will call the meeting to order. If you all please rise for invocation by Attorney Ekstrom and the Pledge of Allegiance by Supervisor Stockwell.
Heavenly Father, we ask for your divine guidance at this, our first meeting of 2012. Please help us to consider the issues before us with wisdom and understanding. Give us insight as to the needs of the people and help us realize the impact our decisions will have on the citizens of Mohave County. We thank you for our many blessings and humbly ask you to continue to bless us. We pray for peace within ourselves and throughout the world. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I need a motion to call for an executive session to be held February 6, 2012 at 9 a.m.
So moved.
Second the
A
motion.
motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 2 is committee and legislative reports. Supervisor Stockwell, do you have anything?
Mr. Chairman, I attended the opening day of the legislature yesterday. The governor spoke, mainly stuck to just great things that had happened to Arizona over the last 100 years. Just Roosevelt Dam example, the Central Arizona project, the new bridge over at Hoover Dam, and also too, I don't know if how many people know about it, but eventually Highway 93 is going to become I-11. I don't know exactly when that'll happen or how much, or when they're going to start really throwing money into it, but they're really concerned about tying Phoenix and Las Vegas together because they claim that is the only two major cities in the United States that doesn't have an interstate running between them. She says the 1 cent sales tax is going to disappear as scheduled. And she claims that this last year we have generated 46,000 jobs in Arizona. And that's basically those things that she covered. She talked about the tragedy at Tucson that happened about a year ago. And she just wants Arizona to move ahead and do really well, and I think it will.
Thank you, Supervisor Sockwell. Supervisor Watson?
I have nothing further.
I have a little bit. We have our first rehab house in Lake Havasu, and it was all fixed with local labor. It was a property that was bringing down the values in the neighborhood, and it's now the county has turned into a house that anybody would be proud of. Obviously, we all know we were busy Monday when Supervisor Sockwell was in Phoenix with the mining issue. It was a busy weekend preparing for Salazar's announcement. Our congressional delegation is firmly in the fight to stop the removal of mining from the Arizona Strip, and we'll take that back to D.C. with them. Also, the Department of Justice approved our Board of Supervisors and Mohave Community College District submissions. They did this without one inquiry, and it was done in 60 days, and this is a credit to Alan Temper and our staff and also to the consultants. The Department of Justice rarely approves a submission without at least a phone call to the submitting agency, so obviously the process went very well, and obviously we're really proud of those people. County Manager, do you have anything?
Nothing this morning, sir.
Need an approval of the minutes from November 14th, 2011.
Motion to approve.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now, if I could have board members go out to the front, I believe. We'll go out the front. We have a few awards to give out. Have somebody come up to accept an award for Jim Jacobs. Have somebody here to accept that? All right, if you'd like to come forward, please. Jim Jacobs was with Probation Department for 20 years. Most of his tenure was as a juvenile community restoration officer and surveillance officer. He finished his career with Mohave County in December of 2011 as a juvenile detention officer. He was diligent in performing his duties and worked well with juveniles of our community. He's not unable to make it today because his mother is ailing, so we would like to present a award to him on behalf of his 20 years on behalf of Mohave County. This is up here with the other board members. I think that's this clock has the right time on it, I guess.
Let's all gather on there you go.
We could just wait over there. Linda Flynn. Is Linda here? There she is. Linda Flynn has been employed with Mohave County Probation Department since 1991. For the past 20 years, Linda has been an invaluable asset to the county and the courts. As a probation services assistant assigned to the Juvenile Division in Kingman, Linda has been the backbone of the supervision and intake units. She has provided daily technical and clerical support to surveillance officers, probation officers, administration, and detention, always doing so with a smile, regardless of the demands. Linda's loyalty and dedication to her duties, going above and beyond to meet the demands of her job, define her as a model employee. Her compassion for others and commitment to her co-workers define her as a person and as a friend. We can get you to wait over there for a second, Linda, and get everybody together. Finally, Miss Zelda Wright. Obviously, somebody else wrote these words for me, Zelda, so. Mohave County congratulates Zelda Wright, Improvement District Supervisor in Public Works. On her 20-year service to the county, Zelda provided a vital contribution toward the formation and administration of over 24 improvement districts, which serve to improve infrastructure, services, and quality of life for Mohave County residents. Zelda's provision of improvement district administration and coordination services over 2 decades is highlighted by Golden Valley Improvement District Community Water System service to 4,000 residential customers. Horizon 6 Community Water System service to 600 residential customers, construction and maintenance of numerous paved roads, and construction of the Scenic Boulevard Bridge. Mohave County thanks Zelda for many years of service and for a commitment to enhance the lives of residents served by improvement districts in the years ahead. You're going to be a tough one to replace, Zelda.
It's been a few years, hasn't it?
Congratulations.
Spotlight.
Zelda, one last thing, you're not off the clock yet. This is all coming out of improvement district fund money. Oh, okay.
One more, please. Thank you.
Next, we have our consent, items 5 through 58. These will all be considered as one motion unless a supervisor wishes to pull something off. Supervisor Watson, do you have any items?
I believe you've got them listed here already.
Oh. 24, 27, 54, 58. Supervisor Stockwell, do you have anything?
No.
Like pulled? I would like to pull item number 46. So I'd like a motion to approve consent items 5 through 58 minus items, oh, I just going to, before I do that, is it 27, is that the,
Yeah, that's it.
is 27 the item that, okay, well, okay, 27 just be removed and continued, all right. Consent items 5 through 58 minus items 24, 27, 46, 54, and 58. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. First item is item number 24, is approve utilizing National Joint Powers Alliance contract heavy construction equipment together with related services, supplies, and services, Caterpillar Inc. to purchase 8 new 2011 Caterpillar 140 M2 motor graders, applying a credit of $1,662,825 for trade-in and buyback of 8 county-owned Caterpillar motor graders through Caterpillar's regional authorized dealer, Empire Southwest, in the amount of $690,998.99 on behalf of the Public Works Department, Fleet Services Division. Do I have a motion for discussion?
Motion first.
Have a motion, and a second. We do have one person signed up, Mr. Dustin Lewis. 24, yes?
Number 24 would be,
24.
Oh, okay. I have no one signed up for number 24.
yes, we do. I believe we do. There might be some confusion.
Oh, here it is back here.
I-
Buzz,
Yes.
Ivasek. Good. Can you state your name and your address for the record, please, sir?
Buzz Ivasek, Lake Havasu City.
go ahead and,
Members of the board, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this morning. My name is Buzz Ivasek, and I represent RDO Equipment Company, the John Deere dealership in Arizona here. I'm here to discuss with you that item number 24 on the consent agenda for the purchase of the 8 motor graders and the 8 trade-ins. Over the past 12 months, I've had the opportunity to provide your staff a John Deere motor grader for field evaluation on 2 different occasions. The feedback I received from your staff was very positive. A couple of the comments that I heard were simplicity of the controls and the ease of operation of the John Deere machine. These controls are very similar to the controls of your older 140H series graders, except with the addition of electric controls. Second was the fact that the John Deere grader is constructed with a steering wheel and secondary lever steering. Our competitors' grader, including the 5 2009 140M trade-ins, have no steering wheel, only a lever steer. This has not changed with the new Cat 140M Series 2 graders. According to your operators, not having a steering wheel was a major safety concern. I have with me 2 proposals that I provided your purchasing and public works departments about 6 weeks ago based on the ADOT state contract. We are also a member of the National Joint Powers Alliance and would be happy to utilize that if you requested. One of the proposals is for 3 new 2012 John Deere graders with 3 Cat 140H trade-ins, while the other is for 5 new 2012 John Deere graders and 5 2009 Cat trade-ins. Warranty on all 8 graders is 7 years, 7,000 hours, full machine secure warranty. There will be no charge for mechanics travel time and mileage or loaner machines for the entire warranty-related time, 7 years total. Also included as standard equipment is a 36-month GPS John Deere Link Ultimate. The 7-year buyback for each of the units is $124,000. The bottom line is that you will save $310,000 if you decided to purchase the 8 John Deere motor graders. That's enough to purchase 1 additional grader and still have $40,000 left over. Not only that, the John Deere grader is preferred by your operators as the motor grader of choice. As I think you'll see, RDO Equipment Company is interested in providing Mohave County with the best product for the best price. Thank you very much.
thank you, sir. Anybody have any questions, this gentleman?
I may have a question or two.
Have a question?
Thank you, Buzz. I'd like to point out a bit of notoriety for Buzz. He was an Olympian in the 1964 Munich Olympics.
72 Olympics, yes, sir.
Well, thank you for your performance there, and you did quite well.
My pleasure.
The reason I brought this out, pulled off the agenda today, was throughout our county road system, we have some extremely hard grades to pull, and I found out through Dustin Lewis and some of the other fellows that the current graders that we purchased were somewhat underpowered. My concern is the concern for our operators on some of these extremely steep curves or grades, one being the Wallapies and the other one being what they call Indian Bend over towards the Wagon Bow Ranch. And I think we ought to seriously take consideration that this operation of these machines, not only with the toggles, but also has a steering wheel. And it's just one more safety guidance that I think I would feel more comfortable if we purchased at least a couple that would have this feature for their operator safety.
Is that all the questions you have of this gentleman?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I guess I would ask Public Works to come up. One thing I'd like to know is any long-term history with problems relative to safety of any of the graders. Also, has Caterpillar or alternative equipment been considered in the past? And if so, Why did we select Caterpillar, for example? And I heard several references to our operators don't like the Caterpillar equipment, that they like the John Deere. So I don't know if you can address that or not. I don't know who those operators were and how that was conveyed, so you could deal with that.
Thank you. Chairman Johnson, Supervisors Watson, Supervisor Sockwell, County Manager Walker, County Attorney Bill Ekstrom. Good morning. With regard to the proposed purchase of 8 total CAT 140 M2, which is a new model of motor grader that has just been recently released by Caterpillar and provides for a state-of-the-art control system to the operator. The 140 M2 model will provide enhanced power, torque, and blade pull through its 9.3-liter engine, which is also compliant with EPA Tier 4 environmental emissions. The CAT 140 M2 motor grader, which Public Works is recommending to replace our existing fleet of 5 2009 140M graders, will provide 16% more foot-pounds of torque and 14% more foot-pounds of torque than the 140H models as well. So Supervisor Watson makes a very astute observation in terms of the need for a grader fleet that can provide for enhanced power. And that is something we will certainly achieve with the 140 M2 purchase. Now, looking toward the proposal of the purchase in terms of the trading of 5 140Ms and 3 140Hs that have come up on our buyback program, Caterpillar is offering Mohave County approximately $50,000 more collectively in trade-in for these 8 motor graders than any other competitor that we've solicited proposals from. Would also like to point out that the purchase of Caterpillar motor graders will include the proprietary Caterpillar GPS based automated vehicle locator system. So we'll be able to integrate the 8 graders into our master system of GPS automatic vehicle location monitoring. Caterpillar also remains the only major manufacturer of motor graders that offers a Mohave County-based repair facility for ease of and timeliness of repairs. Mohave County's fleet of 19 motor graders consists of all 140 series motor graders, which enhances and simplifies our training, inventory, diagnostics, and repair and warranty service work, whether provided by Caterpillar or our own trained staff. Also, the county has enjoyed very successfully utilizing the Caterpillar buyback program through our long history with CAT to maintain this state-of-the-art fleet, and we are satisfied with this very reliable product. Yes, the 140 M2s as well as the 140Ms has provided for a joystick-enabled control. We've had no incidents or instances of issues in operating the 5 140Ms that we've been running for the past 2 years, and we very much look forward to utilizing a 140 M2 model, which enhances what Caterpillar has put out with the 140Ms, and will continue to provide for a state-of-the-art based control of those graders. So I am not aware of nor am knowledgeable of any significant deficiencies as it relates to the control system, and I very much look forward to our operators having the opportunity to run the new 140 M2s.
Steve, I guess I'd have to ask, has any of the operators approached you with their request for a John Deere grader with a steering wheel?
Chairman Johnson, Supervisor Sockwell, our operators have had the opportunity, and primarily our senior operators, in reviewing the Deere 770G model as well as the CAT 140M 2 models. Comparatively speaking, the controls on both models are useful to the operators in the sense that they can very easily adapt. They're experienced in what they do, and they do a darn good job at what they do, in the sense that they can easily operate the 140Ms. They've proven that with the joystick controls, as well as what we're proposing with the 140 M2s. So I think what we're hearing is that the 770Gs are something that any of our experienced motor grader operators can easily jump into that cab and operate that particular piece of machinery, but they're also similarly very comfortable with operating the 140 M2s.
Supervisor Watson, you have any other questions?
The only thing I wanted to point out was the only information that I got that I could feel comfortable with was an incident in the Flagstaff area in Coconino County, an incident in which the motor grader was trying to plow some snow and whatnot, and a vehicle came around too fast, and he had to take the grader off down in the ditch. But I guess it's just my perception, I suppose. If buying a couple would give us some insurance, at least, if you folks feel that you want to go with Caterpillar 100%. I've been a Caterpillar man for a long time. I really enjoy operating them, so I don't have anything against Caterpillar. My only thoughts are that of safety of our operators on really steep terrain. That's really my only concept there.
I guess the questions I would have is just to go farther with what Supervisor Watson is asking. Obviously, safety is always going to be a big concern of ours, and if you address those issues with, with these new purchases that you have, do you feel that there's any problem with the CAT that could leave us open for liability?
Chairman Johnson, when the county purchased 5 Caterpillar 140M motor graders approximately 2 years ago, Caterpillar provided on-site training for our motor grader operators to become very acclimated to the controls in that newly configured state-of-the-art cab. And that went a long way toward allowing our operators to hit the ground running and operating the machines in the field. And through the past couple of years, they have been successful in operating these machines. Our decision to go with the 140 M2s after just 2 years is predicated on the fact that we've been presented with an opportunity to virtually have no loss in the amount of money that we spent on the initial purchase. I think it's about a $7,000 decrease versus the initial purchase price to trade in the 140Ms. So we're having an opportunity to take advantage of, as Supervisor Watson pointed out earlier, of getting a machine that provides for substantially enhanced power so that we can tackle some of the more difficult grading projects that we have. But also with the M2s, we're looking at additional improvements inside the cab that will keep CAT at a state-of-the-art level for controls, operator controls, and comfort.
You've also been able to reduce the number of vehicles in your fleet because of cost-saving measures that Public Works has taken. And so is it a concern that there isn't a dealership here? I know the gentleman came forward and said that they would do repairs for free, but still that, I'm not sure where his base of operation is, but that still means they have to agree to replace a vehicle or give us a loaner. Now that we're getting down to really having vehicles in service and not having a surplus of vehicles around to cover, is that a concern, and is that a problem with possibly getting the loaners from someplace else?
Chairman Johnson, thank you for bringing up that point. You hit it on the head in the sense of Mohave County maintains 19 motor graders in our fleet, down from 25 a couple of years ago. And we made that decision on the premise that we can provide for the same level of service to Mohave County residents on our unpaved roads by running 19 motor graders on average of 1,000 hours per year. And that equates exactly with the level of buyback that we have. As alluded to with the Deere proposal, providing 7,000 hours for 7 years. CAT provides 7,500 hours for 7 years, but it aligns very well with our operations. So we discovered that we can operate a fleet of 19 motor graders and provide for the same level of service while running those graders approximately 1,000 hours a year each. However, the important thing is we can't risk significant downtime to any of our motor graders should they require repair or warranty work. So by having that local repair facility right here in Kingman, we minimize that downtime, whether it's no cost or what have you. The important thing for us is if we don't have a grader in place and running, That's downtime for our operator, who's on salary, as well as we would really have to play catch-up for level of service if we have any particular machine down for a long time. So certainly service in terms of being able, response time is a key factor in staff recommending Caterpillar.
Also, the gentleman brought up the fact that under his calculations, there was a $300,000 or somewhere figure savings. You were saying that there's actually a $50,000 savings with Caterpillar from yours, or maybe you could explain that a little better to us so we know what the difference is.
Yes, Chairman Johnson, the procurement involves two items. One, the trade-in of three 140H models. They're product year 2005, 2006. And Caterpillar is offering about $20,000 more per grader trade than the competitor Deere. We're also trading in 5 140Ms, which Caterpillar and Deere are practically offering the same trade-in amount. I think Deere is about $1,500 to $2,000 more. So the sum total of 8 blades is $50,000 approximately more that Caterpillar is offering us in trade. And one thing I'd like to point out in looking at the market for 2009 140M resale, the resale of a 140M model used, 2 years used for about the same amount of hours as the models that we're trading in, is about comparable to what a brand new purchase of a 770G John Deere motor grader is. So it's just that the Caterpillar 140M2 is such a fantastic machine and really state-of-the-art and a leader. Caterpillar has a 2-to-1 advantage over its nearest competitor in worldwide use of motor graders. There is some additional cost for that 140M2, but the payoff in terms of power, efficiency of use, and operator comfort and controls makes it the state-of-the-art machine in staff's recommendation.
Steve, do you have other implements that attach to the motor graders to do special things?
Supervisor Sockwell, the motor graders will be outfitted with our standard 14-foot mold board, and we can also configure any motor grader for snow plowing as well as necessary.
How about grading a slope?
Supervisor
Do you have
Sockwell.
those attachments for those
Yes.
graders? Would those attachments be compatible with a John Deere machine?
With regard to a John Deere motor grader, I would surmise that John Deere could provide comparable attachments to provide for grading of slopes. But the CAT machines will also come fully equipped to be able to handle any type of grading operation.
Supervisor Watson?
Thank you, Chairman Johnson. Steve, I'd like to praise your division somewhat. The economies of scale in which you've been able to bring forth in the motor grader and keeping our roads is really phenomenal, saving almost $2.5 million just in the first few years. So I just want to say thank you for a wonderful job that you folks are doing in maximizing the use of these pieces of equipment to their maximum use. Steve, thank you very much.
Thank you. I credit our road superintendent and our motor grader operators. They're the ones that make us shine.
Thank you.
Thank you. I guess the only discussion part I have is, I understand what Supervisor Watson is saying, but if we have all Caterpillar, whether we had all John Deere or one of the others, I don't know that I feel comfortable putting 2 pieces in that would have, different characteristics, different parts, and that's mine. I don't know where. Is there a motion, I guess, to bring forward so we decide where we want to move? Mr.
Chairman, due to the fact that we have available here locally a repair service through Empire Cat, I'm going to make a motion to approve item 24.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Right, we have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now, item number 27 is pulled off is going to be continued. I do have some people who've signed up. Would you like to wait till it comes back and the final decision's been made? I'll give you the choice. Nothing's going to be decided today. The item is going to be continued. All right. We will move Move on. Item number,
Did you need a motion for to continue, or?
somebody wants to speak. All right, is there a motion for discussion on this item?
What item you talking about?
Item 27? Do you
All
need
right,
a,
I will call, I need a motion for discussion.
so moved.
All right. Mr. Dustin Lewis, would you like to speak on this item?
The item is being continued, I'll wait until that point unless needed
All right. Mike Roundy, would you like to speak on this item? I'll wait. Denise Ben Susan, would you like to speak on this item?
Thank you very much for allowing everyone to speak on this issue. I spoke out last time
Set
on...
your address and
I'm
name
sorry.
and address for me, please.
Denise Ben Susan, 4811 East Bill, Kingman, Arizona, 86409. I'm in District 1. Spoke out last time just with some concerns over this issue. I'm still kind of hoping that the Board of Supervisors might consider another avenue on this issue, possibly selling the building with a nation based in capitalism. Maybe we would have a private business that would buy that building, thus creating not only the income from the purchase to the county, but income taxes and possibly jobs as well. Unless there was something, I'm not sure if you can answer my question, I was wondering if the intent of tearing down the building was ultimately to create public parking space to expand the downtown opportunity. Not sure if anyone can answer that, but I was curious about that. And the way the bids are taken, I work in a business where I make bids to public entities and that for my income. And I know that if I make a mistake, I'm kicked out. I mean, it's a very difficult business to be in. So I guess if we follow the rules, and if you all are following the rules, that you're working down the bids and certain issues come up with each bid, that you're doing the appropriate thing by taking the next bid that was appropriate and reasonable in their estimates. So I am hoping you would maybe look into some other issues on not destroying the building and possibly selling it. Thank you. That's all I need to say. Would you have any questions for me? No, I don't believe so. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Because the only thing we're here to discuss on this item is the contract, and just for clarification, this has nothing to do with the bidder. It has more to do with state law that was enacted. So the person who was on the bidding, nobody on the bidding, there's a problem with any of the bidders or the contractors. Butch Merriweather, please.
Mr. Chairman and Supervisor Sockwell and Watson, I'm here because of the proposed demolition of the building that is contained on two parcels of property on Oak Street. I'm opposed to it because once the property is demolished, the total value, land value, according to the assessor, is only $42,571. So right now, the proposal is to demolish the building at approximately $398,800, not to exceed $491,476. What I recommend is that if the county doesn't want this building anymore, and there's any plans at all of selling the property, is to go ahead and put the property up for sale for, say, an example, $50,000. I know that's way less than what right now it's valued at with the building, but once you tear the building down, that's more. With a stipulation that the buyer would have to bring the building up to code within 6 months, tear it down, and also do a disclosure that there's asbestos in the building. That's all I have to say, is this way you would be able to save almost $400,000 and possibly make $50,000, that could be used for something else that the county needs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and I forgot to say that I do live at 2225 South Dome Road.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion to continue this item.
Motion to continue.
We have a second. We have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 46, I would make a motion for discussion. I pulled this one.
Second motion.
Item number 46 is approve the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Bullhead and Mohave County for the Bullhead City Senior Nutrition Center retroactive to July 1st, 2011, and replace the lease and intergovernmental agreement for the Bullhead City Nutrition Center executed on July 1st, 2011. The amended intergovernmental agreement was required and approved by the U.S. Bureau of Land Management and contains minor changes. The reason I pulled this item, gentlemen, is that we have had continued discussion, and we'll have more discussion in this board meeting regarding leasing of property. In this case, I wasn't really thrilled with this lease we did to begin with. This is for a senior building that we have in the city of Bullhead, which has a mirror building sitting, I don't know, 20 feet from the from our building, which has the same exact facilities inside it, a kitchen, a dining hall, everything else. And we are leasing this for, I believe, is $1 a year? Is that what we're leasing? We're leasing it to the city of Bullhead for $1 a year, when we could, in actuality, use this for other county departments. And we have some departments, I believe, that are actually looking for rental property as we speak, which is going to cost them thousands of dollars plus retrofitting, plus we need to get our communications in there. So I'm just bringing this up to the board, and I'm saying that seeing how the city of Bullhead does have their own building, they have a kitchen, they have all of the things they need, that in order to utilize our buildings to the best of our ability, I believe that we should have the direct staff to meet with the city of Bullhead and have the city of Bullhead put their senior program back in their senior building, and we can use the senior building that we have for other county uses. We'll leave it up to you gentlemen for discussion.
Tops district.
This problem is not going to go away, is it?
I knew you had nothing else to think about.
So. The only thing that I can say, what little bit I can say about it, and is probably a little in defense of Bullhead City, and that the building that actually Bullhead City owns probably doesn't have a large enough kitchen nor the equipment to do the job with. They would have to go in probably and do some modification, expansion on the kitchen next door. But that could certainly be done.
I guess what is the feeling of the board members? I mean, the tax dollars we have and the tax money we receive is to go for the running the county services, and Bullhead gets their tax dollars obviously to run their city services, and they have elected to run the senior program in Bullhead City, and they do have a building. I guess I would look to you gentlemen for a motion. That was just my feeling, that we can better use the building for county services, and then seeing how Bullhead does have their own building, they could use their own building for.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we table this to the next meeting and give staff an opportunity to really review what we have.
We have a motion and a second. Supervisor Watson.
Mr. Chairman, if I could clarify, maybe the county attorney would need, tabling it, is that different, or should it be sent to staff to negotiate with Bullhead City?
I can send it to staff. I can change my motion.
Okay, thank you.
And send it back to staff for review.
Have it brought back within 30 days, or the next meeting?
Next meeting, yes.
You have that, Ms. Bracken? Okay, no further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same side. Motion carries. Item number 54 is the next one. I would make a motion for discussion.
Second.
This is for the, approve the removal of Jeannie Kinch from the Mohave County Local Drought Impact Group, whose term expired July 21st, 2011, representing District 3. Jeannie, would you like to come forward, please?
Good morning, Chairman Johnson, Supervisor Sockwell, and Watson. My name is Jeannie Kench. I reside at 1004 Vista Drive in the Crystal Beach, Lake Havasu area. I'm just here because I wanted to have a clarification on the removal of me from the Mohave County Local Drought Impact Group. I was appointed to the steering committee, and it didn't say in here that it was a steering committee. Our group is unique to the rest of the state in as much as we're still together, and we're trying to get some things done, and we were to be turning it from a steering committee to an advisory committee, but we had not yet done that. I was appointed to the steering committee, and I wanted to make certain that I can still be involved in this group. Whether I was appointed or not, I know that it's open to the public, so I can be. But I just wanted to make sure that it was clear in here that I am to be removed from the steering committee of the Local Drought Impact Group.
Mr. Chairman, if I could inquire of Public Works and Emergency Management. This is a public meeting, is that correct? That's correct. So, ma'am, you're free to participate as you see fit.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Walker. I just wanted to make certain that it was noted in there, it was the steering committee, just so down the line something doesn't come back to haunt me. Obviously, this issue is because I am running for supervisor of the county, and I just wanted to make certain that I can still be involved in the advisory committee and still be involved in the impact group itself.
Right, and just to clarify, you have, this isn't a removal, this is, you're being removed from the list, but you have made it known to me that you're resigning because of a possible conflict of being appointed, and so that's why you're stepping down from the position.
Right,
yeah.
Yes, you had notified me that that was your policy, yeah. That if I was to be in a campaign, that the appointed members can't continue to be in those positions. So that's fine. Sure. I still, water's in my blood, and I'm going to continue doing that. So I wanted to make certain that it was noted in here that it was the steering committee, because it wasn't on the agenda item that way.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would make a motion to approve this item.
Second.
A motion and a second, no further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're going to need a 5-minute break, then we'll come back. We have quite a few people signed up for the next one. 10? 10? We'll take a short break.
Oh, this is gonna be a good one. They don't understand again. He's from Illinois. I imagine he's glad to be out here this time of year, yeah. I'm ready, yeah.
We'll call the meeting back to order. Item number 58 is approve a subscriber service agreement with Educational Services, Inc., providing for the professional employment services of John Timko, Deputy County Manager, Management Services for the time period February 7th, 2012 through August 23rd, 2013, the amount of $241,199.79, savings of approximately $24,900. Do I have a motion for discussion?
Second, motion for discussion.
A second. A motion and a second. I have people signed up for this. Remind people that this item is regarding the agreement between Educational Services, Inc. and Mohave County. Will not accept any personal attacks on the character of an employee. It's not a personnel issue. Mr. Rick Sherwood.
Thank you. My name is Rick Sherwood. I live out in the hinterlands of the new District 4 called Meadview. And my address is 26572 North Rose.
Thank you.
What I'd like to do is suggest that maybe we're asking the wrong question with regard to this contract. I think what we should be asking, let me proffer this, that possibly we should be looking at the special skill set that Mr. Timko brings to the organization, and as to why that hasn't been transferred to the existing staff to date. I know that he has currently a contract with us. I would think that we would want to transfer those skills to our current staff. So either one of two things is happening, I think. Either the staff is underperforming, or there's a management issue that those skills haven't been transferred yet. So no, I don't think we ought to be extending that contract. In some circles, that's politely being called double dipping, I think. And to those of us out in the rural area of District 4, I think we call that screwing the taxpayers, and we shouldn't be doing that. And you're all taxpayers as well, so I would think that you would be sensitive to that issue. As conservatives, that ought to be alien to your core values. I know that it's alien to mine. So I'm asking, don't approve this contract, and if you feel you must, don't extend it so far. Extend it to perhaps 6 months or to February to allow perhaps the new board to discuss this issue further. Thank you for your time. That's all I really had to say. And if there are any letters written on my behalf, please CC me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Boyd, Bob Boyd.
I'm sorry. Oh, Bob Boyd.
And I do have, Mr. Boyd, I do have your, this is a statement on 58. Would you like me to submit this into the record?
Yes, sir. For the record, my name is Bob Boyd. I live at 2996 South Peacock Drive, Kingman, Arizona, 86401. Gentlemen, good morning. Much like Mr. Sherwood, I share many of the same views. I would like to read the statement that I want to have entered into the record. With all of the notoriety concerning the double dipping in Arizona state retirement funds, I would ask, how could we have ever approved this original contract with what it amounts to a temporary employment contract from the start? Now we're looking to renew this. This is the type of activity that the retirement fund is basically coming into a shortfall over. This is being sold on the basis of saving money when in reality, it's falling on the backs of our number one asset, our employees. When you deal with the employment agency, typically you as an employer have an opportunity to buy out a contract and hire the employee directly. This won't work in this case, as it is intended for this employee to collect his retirement while continuing to work in his county position for which he was hired and promoted. This agreement, again, with a temporary employee, is being argued that is done to assist the new board in its budgetary correlation and the transfer from you as the old board, which I'm sure many of you look to be a part of the new, to the new board. This man's retired. Do we not have qualified department heads and elected officials that can do much the same as was just addressed? I believe that we do, and I think they deserve that recognition. If you're going to persist in moving forward in this contract, I would ask all of you, was there a performance evaluation done on this temporary employee? Additionally, should a financial officer responsible for the county's assets be guaranteed income under contract and not be responsible as a county employee for those funds? If you plan to continue it, I would also ask that the alternative contribution, which is part of this contract, which is mandated by the state of Arizona now, an amount of 8.64%, totaling $13,240.97, which begins 7/1/2012, be paid by this employee's wages, since this contract excludes employees' benefits. This law, which was now mandated starting in July, was put together to try and help offset some of the shortfall in these funds. In closing, I must ask you, is any one person truly worth this type of money and the impact that it has on our county? I ask that this be entered into the record, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stephen Robinson.
I am Stephen Robinson from 3439 North Bowie Road in the heart of Golden Valley, District 4, and unlike the other two fine gentlemen, I am not running for district supervisor. I find it troubling that we are extending a contract for 18 months on an employee that at their annual rate of $156,000. Now, maybe he is a very good financial manager. My only question about that issue is, in last year's annual report, a line in that report said that the county is required, in effect, to raise the property taxes there's a mandated 2% increase in the property taxes. That statement is a deceptive statement, and I felt that that was highly inappropriate for such a statement, and I believe that that kind of language in an annual report deceives the people, and so that's my only question about his performance. So I think that if you need to extend it, and the goal is to get through through the next budget, that it should be only a 6-month contract, not an 18-month contract. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Those are the only people I have signed up. Supervisor Stockwell, do you have anything?
I think we have to look at Mr. Timko's record. He is probably one of the only people we have in Mohave County that has the ability to do what we've done here in this building and also the jail. And that is to follow through with the design build concept, which saved millions of dollars on both of these contracts. Also, we have to look at the fact that Mr. Temko has gave us 9 consecutive balanced budgets here in the county. You're going to, we are ready to start on this year's budget process. That starts now, and then people will be working on that budget process until we approve the final budget in August. Next year, you'll be coming on board with new supervisors, a new county manager, and you go out and and you will be bringing in a new finance director. If you don't continue with Mr. Temko, you have a whole bunch of unknowns coming in to start off 2013. I think you should really think about what is best for the county.
Supervisor Watson, anything? No, I don't have anything. And I'd like to go over that a little bit too, so people understand that the contract that Mr. Temko, or not Mr. Temko, but we're signing with the educational services is for an at-will employee. So while this gives a new board the opportunity, as Supervisor Sockwell said, to have somebody in place who has done prior budgets, and hopefully, you know, Supervisor Sockwell said they've all been balanced. We've had no problems. We get awards from on how our budgeting is done, and we have the experience. There is still, and this doesn't lock the employee into it, but he is, the contract, he is consented to be here for a period of time that would take us through 2 budget cycles. That doesn't stop a new board that comes in. If the majority of them want to terminate the contract, it can be terminated on January 1st, January 2nd, anytime they want to do it. So it at least gives them the opportunity to set their own destiny. So I think that's where they are. Look, you board members, if this goes through, same thing with not hiring another county manager. They haven't burdened another board with employee decisions. So. Do we have a motion on this?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve item 58.
We have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 59 is a public hearing, which I will open at this time regarding extension of time for rezone. Commission recommended approval by a 5-to-1 vote. I have no one signed up. Was there someone who would like to address the board? Item number 59. Hearing no one, I will close the public hearing. What is the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 60, I will open the public hearing. Adoption of Board of Supervisors Resolutions 2012-012, rescind and cause the property to revert from CMO to a former zoning classification of AR. This is item number 60. I have no one signed up to speak. Is there anyone who would like to address the board?
Motion.
Item
Mr. Chairman, I approve the rescission of item number 60.
Okay. Hearing none, we closed it, and we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
Okay. We have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 61, I will open the public hearing. Board of Supervisors Resolution 2012-13, rescind and cause the property to revert from C2H, commercial highway frontage, to its former zoning classification of AR. I have no one signed up. Is there anyone here who would like to address the board on item number 61?
Mr. Chairman, I
I'll
approve
close
the
it.
rescission of item number 61.
We have a motion and a second.
Second motion.
No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 62 is a public hearing, which I will now open. Adoption of Board of Supervisors Resolutions 2012-14, rescind and cause the property to revert from C2 classification to AR. I have no one signed up. Is anyone here who would like to address the board on item number 62? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Do we have a motion on item number 62?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion we do the rescission of item 62.
Motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 63A is the regular agenda. Supervisor Sockwell, discussion, possible action, reconsideration of item 13 from November 14th, 2011 board meeting, adopting Board of Supervisors Resolution 2011-166, denying a property escrow trust agreement as an alternative form of assurance. Do we have a motion on item 63A?
We don't have anyone signed up to speak on that, Mr.
We'll need to get the motion for reconsideration
Okay,
first.
we'll make a motion to approve item 63A.
We have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 63B is adoption of 2011-166A. This is item 63B. I have no one signed up on this. Is there any motion for discussion?
Make a motion for discussion.
Yeah, second.
We have a motion. What is the pleasure of the board?
This is part of item 63A. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. No further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 64 is discussion possible action approve Black Mesa decommissioning plan for Bullhead Laughlin Airport. Approve the agreement between Mohave County and Mohave County Airport Authority, Inc. and Black Mesa Pipeline, Inc. to decommission the pipeline located at the Bullhead Laughlin International Airport and accept the abandonment of the easement underlying the subject property. Do we have
anyone assigned to speak, Mr. Chairman?
Before, I only have a Mr. David Gaines if needed. If we have
Then I'll make a motion for discussion.
Second the motion.
Motion and a second. He only wanted to come forward if there was a question, Supervisor Sockwell. So.
Oh, okay. Then I'll make a motion to approve.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 65 is board sitting as the board of directors of the Mohave County Library District. Discussion possible action reapproving lease number 11-SF-39 for Mohave County Library Annex located at 2153 East Gordon Drive, Suite F, Kingman, Arizona, with ORB Investments, Kingman, Arizona, for a one-year lease in the amount of $1,920 per month, beginning February 1st, 2012, and ending January 31st, 2013, with the option to renew the lease for 3 additional one-year periods through January 31st, 2016, with the rent adjusted upwardly by 3% a year. Do I have a motion for discussion on this?
Motion for discussion.
Okay, we have a motion for discussion. I have people signed up for this. Where's 65? Butch Meriwether.
Good morning again, and I live at 2225 South Dome Road in Golden Valley, the beautiful area between Kingman and Laughlin. First off, I would like to say, and I want everybody to know, that the information in the newspaper article about a candidate or their campaign manager asking Supervisor Watson to take it off the consent agenda in November, it was incorrect. I was the person who asked that be. I originally had planned on talking on the subject. However, because I saw other people that were going to be doing it, I figured that I would not be redundant and that they could handle it. I am not a candidate for any position. I'm not a campaign manager for anybody, for either somebody for re-election or election. I'm just concerned about expenditures of money. I'm opposed to the lease on Gordon because I know that there's adequate space available in county buildings. Also, the bookmobiles are parked at the library, not on Gordon. Here's a photograph of them doing there. Here's an example of one of the buildings that's available that belongs to the county. It's the old county jail. Now, I know that right now that the sprinkler system is engineered for people. However, I personally spoke with Fire Chief Chuck Osterman, and he said, yes, it would have to be re-engineered for storage of records. if they want to do the books and records and stuff. He said that could theoretically be as little as just changing the sprinkler heads. So, and this drawing right here is just the lower level. There's 2 more levels that if it was re-engineered so that you could store records, you could also store records that are being stored elsewhere in the same facility for a long term and save the county a lot of money. That's all I have to say is that I know that, that you're considering the lease, but I hope that you would also consider that there are other county-owned buildings available that could house the library annex and other facilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Hildy Angus?
Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Hildy Angus. I live at 251 Moser Avenue, number 305 in Bullhead City, Arizona. Good morning, Chairman Johnson, Supervisor Sockwell, and Supervisor Watson. If you remember correctly, or read this morning's Daily Miner, I stood before you 2 months ago and I asked you some simple, legitimate questions. Why are we spending thousands of dollars to rent office space for the library when there are empty office spaces here and all around Kingman? And oh, by the way, the office is owned by 2 county workers who happen to be in the direct employ of the county manager and the county attorney. Well, we heard nothing about this issue for 2 months until last week when I was forwarded this 5-page poison pen letter basically trashing me and my character, bordering on libel. You know, when are you guys going to learn you cannot do this? You cannot trash public citizens. I am a candidate, but I came here as a citizen asking a legitimate question. You cannot do this. You're lucky this time. I will not sue. All I want are the answers to the questions I asked 2 months ago, and that is, why do we rent this space? Now, does Mr. Walker want us to believe that back in 2007 or 2008, when it was decided we needed this extra space, that this particular building, right off Stockton Hill Road, at $1 a square foot, was the only building that met the requirements for this particular library office? I mean, come on. I understand from the letter that Mr. Walker does not like the words unethical and inappropriate. So I'm going to word it a little different. Does it not bother you or make you a tad uncomfortable that 2 county workers own this building? So I ask you, may I have an answer? Does it make anyone uncomfortable? I'm not talking about is it legal. I'm not talking has it ever been done. I'm saying does it make anybody uncomfortable? Nobody?
Ms. Angus, you cannot.
I can't ask questions?
No, you can ask your questions, but.
Well, it's a question.
When you're doing is, you're getting into personalities here with the county manager. If you would address to us, and just for clarification, whether the people that own this piece of property are county employees or illegal immigrants, we cannot discriminate by who they are, race, creed.
I totally understand, but this was a building that did not go out for any competitive bid. It says it. You know, you're right, Mr. Walker. I don't know procurement procedures. How would I? I don't work here. So I called up here and I made an appointment with the procurement office. Very nice lady, said she'd be happy to sit with me. But the next day I got a call from Mr. Timko himself telling me that that meeting was not going to happen. So I ask you again, is anybody uncomfortable with this particular lease? Thank you.
Thank you. Joy Brotherton?
My name is Joy Brotherton. I am a citizen of Mohave County, lived here for 50 years. And good morning, Chairman Johnson, Sockwell, Gary Watson. Glad to be here. After reading the paper this morning, I was a little hesitant to speak at the risk of being called ignorant. There are some things I don't know about this. I'm sorry, I am also a candidate for District 4 Supervisor in the new district. There are some things I don't know that I would have to learn. But my concern about this particular issue is not who the owner is. It's not even if that contract is legal. It's not if proper procedure was followed, I'm sure it was, but it's necessity. Is this necessary? I really think that the Board of Supervisors are to be the watchdog for our money, for county citizens. I'm a citizen of the county. Is this really necessary? With all of the vacant buildings we have, I just don't feel that it's necessary. And I'm also a little embarrassed as a citizen and as a candidate that we make headlines like we had this morning, because I believe that we should be able to discuss and ask and find out and learn from each other without attacking each other and calling names and trying to discredit each other. I also called Mr. Watson when I first saw this item on the agenda and the amount that was being paid per month, and I asked him, is this really necessary? He's my supervisor in my present district. And he said, well, why don't you speak and ask about it at the meeting? Well, this was on a weekend, and I hadn't had time to go look at the building, and I kind of like to know what I'm talking about before I speak. So I didn't speak on it. But now today, I'm asking that we be able to come to some sort of agreement. I'm against this because I think there's other facilities that will accommodate and not cost the county any money. And I would really like to see the breach mended between government and our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Stephen Robinson.
Good morning, Chairman Johnson and Supervisor Sockwell and Watson. Steve Robinson, again, Golden Valley. I'm not going to address the issue about the letter, except I noticed in page 3, Manager Walker pointed out 4 questions that need to be considered. Is the space suitable? Are the terms, conditions reasonable? And is it in the best interest of the county? And is the price reasonable based upon market conditions? Well, there's even a 5th question. And is the budget available? The question that I think people have pointed out here is that the question that was not asked is there other space that would eliminate the cost to the county? Supervisor Watson, you mentioned that we have balanced budgets under Mr. Walker and Mr. Timko's management for the last 9 years, and I agree with you on that point. Unfortunately, they've done it at an increase of taxes over the last 9 years of 77% on the backs of Mohave County citizens. That I find unfortunate. I'm not an expert on the library board, but I have a statement by a member of the board that I'm going to read into the record. Statement by Noreen Thomas, a member of the Mohave County Library Advisory Board since 2005. As a member of the Mohave County Library Board, I was never aware that we had leased had a leased facility on Gordon Avenue in Kingman, nor was I aware that the building is leased from county employees. I find this to be a distinct conflict of interest. We hold meetings all over the county, yet never was a meeting scheduled in this building, leased building. I wonder why. And may I add, the building is not publicly marked, or it was not as of November when I looked at it. Isn't it ironic that now it has come to light, the very next meeting is to be held in this particular facility? And according to Ms. Noreen Thomas, it is the policy to have meetings throughout the county. And so in 5 years that this building has been part of the county inventory, and it wasn't even listed on the inventory until after the November 14th meeting, that a member of the library board was not aware of this. If, at the very least, it's inappropriate that it was not listed. And at the very worst, it appears to be hidden on purpose. When concerned citizens contact a county supervisor with a request for an answer, it is the responsibility of that individual to see that an answer is forthcoming. Why was this not happened when questions arose about the lease? Why has Ron Walker been allowed to ignore a direct order? I would hope that the current Board of Supervisors would delay any action regarding renewal of this questionable lease until such a time as a thorough investigation has been completed and the result of the investigation be made public. Noreen Thomas, member of the Mohave County Library Advisory Board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. I will address a little bit on Ms. Thomas's letter. She's an appointee of mine, and as it says, she's on the advisory board, which is an advisory capacity. This board is up here sitting as the board of directors for the library district. As far as her not knowing about the buildings, that's not why she's placed on the advisory board. She's there to help with, the function of the committee is to recommend and support and advise the Mohave County Board of Supervisors on all matters pertaining to operation and development of Mohave County Library District through the library director. The object is to develop Mohave County Library District in a manner that fully provides information and resources that are relevant, accessible, and responsive to the interests and intellectual needs of the citizens of Mohave County. The advisory board is not part of the day-to-day running of the library district. Unfortunately, Ms. Thomas did not see fit to call me to ask any questions about to get information for the statement she just made, which is too bad. And also, we're making distinctions here that I believe there are other people that need to come up and want to talk, and maybe it'll help them. Sitting as the board of directors of the library, if there is space available in this building, this is not paid for by the library district, and the library district will be charged to use this building as any other person will be charged. But nobody gets a free ride in the county. And so there's not going to be saving money by saying, well, we're going to put them in Public Works, because Public Works would charge somebody for that too. So I just don't want anybody to think that there's a savings because there's another building available. Mr. James Clark.
My name is James Clark. I live in Golden Valley, Arizona, and I'm opposed to this. I'm not going to belittle the point. Other people have mentioned that the county has other areas available where they could put this part of the library. I just want to ask one question. When are you gentlemen going to please stop wasting my money? It's tax dollars. I don't see the need for this. You can put them in the old jail annex, hop, skip, and a jump up the road. It's already owned by the county. We don't need to spend money for other places. Can I get an answer? Is it going to be this month? Next month?
Well, your question, sir, is obvious. You haven't looked into it because that building is being used for another purpose. So when you bring things up, this happened back in 2007. We started looking at it. If you had questions regarding the lease, that would have been the time to say, okay, we need to look at other properties. Now we've moved the county library system into that building, and we are looking to extend the lease. Now, some of the things you have to consider are, what will we have to do to bring something else up to the standard that this place is already in? But the building you're referring to, and we're not going to get into, obviously, a case by case on each one, that building is being used for something else. It is being used for the betterment of the county, so that building cannot be used.
Well, I realize that, sir.
If you're talking about the one over here, if you're talking about the one downtown, we don't have use for that yet. But the one that's right over here, we are using that one.
Well, I just mentioned that one in general. However, there are numerous county-owned buildings. You even mentioned the one down in Bullhead that you would like to cancel the lease on, possibly to use for county purposes. There are numerous areas where this part of the county library can be housed, and we don't have to give county money, taxpayer money, to somebody else. That's all I want to know. When are we going to stop wasting our money?
Well, depending on what the board does today, hopefully the board is not wasting your money. Obviously, that'll be a difference of opinion between you and the board.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Roy Hagelmeyer.
Good morning, gentlemen. Chairman Johnson, Supervisor Sockwell, Supervisor Watson. In following this story, I was not at the meeting when this all came to light, but a few things come to mind, and one is over my years of being a manager, I've always been told to do everything in an upright manner that would not even have any sight of impropriety or wrongdoing. But in following this story, a few words come to mind: collusion, conflict of interest, impropriety, waste of taxpayer dollars. Over the last few years, there have been numerous incidents where there has been conflict between the public and this body here in this building, be it the dress code, be it people being arrested, cries from the public against the taxes being raised, and so on. And yet, at every turn, there seems to be more conflict brought up because it's like this body here is in charge of everything and the people sitting out here are ignorant and don't have a clue what's going on. Unfortunately, all of you work for the people that are out here. And the fact that we have employees, very high-paid employees of this county, writing letters that treat a member of this public in a derogatory manner is unbelievable. I would just like to ask that hopefully, maybe starting today, that all of you could act in a more professional manner and treat the public with a whole bunch more respect rather than trashing them publicly, privately, or however else you want to do it. And hopefully, with this matter that we have before us today, that we can look at it and say, hey, maybe we can spend the money in a better manner, take the $2,000 a month and cut it to $1,000 a month and use some county-owned property. I don't know the ins and outs of what properties are or are not available, but if there are properties available, I'd hope we would look at that. But my bottom line comment is I just would like to see the conflict between this body and the public improved, because it's not doing anybody any good. We got everybody up in arms and fired up, and there's a lot of hate going on here, and there really shouldn't be, because it ought to be a moment where we all come together, discuss things, agree on it, and we all leave friends somewhat, instead of everybody walk out here screaming mad and wanting to do things they probably shouldn't do. That's my comment for today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Elmer Whitaker.
Hi, my name is Elmer Whitaker, Golden Valley, Arizona, 709 South Mormon Flat Road. Chairman Johnson, Supervisor Sockwell, Supervisor Watson, County Manager Walker, and Deputy County Attorney Ekstrom. Hello. And I had a serious problem with the article that was published today in the newspaper, and I really want to say that. I found this article extremely inappropriate, and its timing more than dubious. I don't think this is the way a county board should talk to its constituents. Next subject is a question that hasn't found any answer. Does anybody on this board feel uncomfortable about the lease being granted to a building that is owned by county employees? Now, Hildy asked the question earlier and didn't get an answer. I would like to get an answer. I don't think this is a personal question. I think this is a very justified question, and I think we the people deserve an answer to that. Does anybody feel uncomfortable about this?
Mr. Whitaker, the board is not going to answer you on a question like that. We're here to discuss the contract, but like I said before, this board does not discriminate, and we're not discriminating against county employees. We're not discriminating against people that don't speak English so well. We don't discriminate against illegal immigrants. We treat everybody fairly, and when it has nothing to do with who owns the building. We go with what's best for the county.
The answer is...
That's the answer.
I didn't hear that. Well, anyways, then that's the answer is nobody feels uncomfortable then.
I'm not speaking for the other board members. I'm just telling you, you're not going to get that question answered.
Well, this is very sad, actually. But thank you for your time anyways.
You're welcome. Ms. Denise Ben-Susan?
Denise Ben-Susan, 4811 East Kaya Kingman, Arizona, 86409. I guess for full disclosure, I should disclose that I am running for Board of Supervisor in District 1. I think that, you know, I'm not up here to necessarily defend Hildy. Her and I pretty much clash on about everything we discuss, but in this case, she's really made a very fine point that needs to be addressed. The biggest issue here is that the county does own enough property to place the items, offices from this leased building into other areas and buildings that they own. If they need assistance with this, I'm sure I have a list of volunteers that we'd be glad to come and help you figure it out. The fact that there is an appearance, and I'm not saying there is collusion or corruption, but there is an appearance of that. And as a legal entity, as our leaders, I believe you have I think you should be far more open with the information to the general public, especially concerning something like this that does appear as collusion. We're downsizing. Everyone is downsizing. I don't know one friend or associate that has not downsized in their household, their expenditures for food, recreation, anything like that. I mean, you know, I'm one of those people. So I would suggest that in response to this issue, that we might take 3 months of a lease, continue this lease for 3 months, and that we hit it hard and heavy on where to place this office space and the items that are stored there. And that we also look into other issues similar to this. How many other buildings are we utilizing, such as this, where we could be utilizing county-owned property? Now, Buster mentioned that there was a little difficulty with the library needing to pay as an entity itself, but the library is a county entity, and I'm sure with the vast amount of intelligence that we have in our county employees, in our leaders, that we can figure out a way to place those items, those offices, whatever is in that building, into county-owned properties at a very minimal cost, and decrease not only the cost to the taxpayers here of Mohave County, but to erase this appearance of collusion. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak. Would you have any questions for me?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Robert Brooks?
Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Robert Brooks. My address is 730 East Beale here in Kingman. I'm one of the owners of Orb Investments. I am here with both my partners, Casey Orr and Taylor Ross. We are in favor of the resolution. We hope that you approve the lease agreement. But more importantly, we hope you make your decision based on the facts, not based on inaccurate information, not based on the situation we've become embroiled in, where we seem to be a ping pong ball in some type of political ping pong game. Let me real quickly go through what I think the 3 issues are and what I can do and what I cannot do. The first question is whether the county needs this space at all. I cannot answer that question. I'm the landlord. I have to assume the tenant has ascertained what its needs are. I can tell you what the facility offers, and I can tell you what goes on there because I've been in the building. The facility is 2,400 square feet. It's not 800. It's not 2,000, it's 2,400 square feet. It's zoned for retail, commercial, warehouse, multi-use. It's been occupied by the library district for 5 years. It's my understanding they use it for all of their administrative, clerical, shipping, receiving, warehousing, and distribution issues for half a dozen different remote locations. Assuming that the library district board determines the space is needed, I can certainly address the rent issue. The original rent 5 years ago was about $2,100, and there was a CPI or inflation escalator in the lease that brought it up to $2,400. That's the lease that's now expiring. The proposal is for $1,920. That's based at 80 cents a foot. That's the market rate. Commercial rates have dropped precipitously. Trust me, as a landlord, I know it's a tough marketplace out there. Landlords are hungry for tenants. We've dropped our lease by over 20%, by more than $6,000 a year, lower than what it was 5 years ago, to try to keep business. The lease that you're looking at is exactly the same amount, terms, and conditions as a similar lease we signed with a private entity that's next door to you. We're not giving the county a better deal. We're not giving the county a worse deal. I should add that the lease involves the landlord paying all the taxes, all the maintenance, and all the insurance, which are the type of charges that in most commercial leases, or many commercial leases, are passed on pro rata to the tenant. The issue that seems to be the biggest source of contention, which should truly have no bearing at all, is the fact that my wife's a county employee, Mr. Orr's wife's a county employee. Together they have more than 50 years of service to this county. They apparently have become prominent county employees in the eyes of the public, which is something that I think is long overdue. But the bottom line is their association with the county is irrelevant. We're not asking for an advantage. I agree with all these people that have spoken. No county employee should get an advantage or a deal because they're a county employee. But we also ask that you don't put us at a disadvantage. Treat this lease as a commercial transaction. If you need the space, if you concur with your procurement department that this is a good deal, you can rely on your attorneys, Mr. Ekstrom and Mr. Taylor, who are going to tell you that it's no violation of the Procurement Act or any other legal standard to enter into this type of lease, and make the decision based on the facts, and I believe you'll support the resolution. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. That's the last person. What is the I guess we'll go to you now as the county manager. There's been a lot of concerns. Can you please let us know what steps have been taken?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. In your backup, you have three pieces of correspondence other than the lease itself. A letter that, by the way, I didn't write the newspaper article. I did write the letter. The letter was after the last board meeting dated November 18, 2011. The letter was to the chairman of the board and to the county attorney relative to the events of that day, with copies to both of the other supervisors. On November 21st of this year, after I had expressed my concerns relative to what had happened in the board meeting, you have a letter from the procurement department, which, by the way, if you will read the backup, if people have access to that backup, and a lot of people have picked it up, you will see the perspective from the procurement department. There's no conflicts of interest, and the procurement department handles this and completely, and it comes to the county manager's office, and nor did anyone in my office have any micromanagement in this, and I'll get more to that. And third, a county attorney's opinion after that's dated December the 9th, which validates both everything that I had to say to the chairman and the county attorney, as well as everything that procurement had to say about this issue. So I think since it's been brought up today and people are referencing a newspaper article, I think it would be relevant for me to actually read into the record the letter that I sent to the chairman and to the Board of Supervisors. I've heard today that these were simple questions that were asked. By my interpretation of that, they were allegations made of improprieties, and I'm hearing people today say conflict of interest and other kinds of things which do not characterize the way procurement or any other kind of legal contracting business happens in Mohave County. So, having said that, here are my comments, and I'll read the letter verbatim. It will answer, in my opinion, many of the allegations that have been made, and hopefully, as Mr. Hagemeyer said, we'll get beyond this and deal on the issues in a more hospitable manner. Item 53 of the November 14th board meeting, sitting as the Board of Directors of Mohave County Library District, it was there to approve a lease agreement number 11 SF39 to the Mohave County Library Annex located at 2153 East Gordon, Suite F, Kingman, Arizona, with Orb Investments for a one-year lease in the amount of $1,920 beginning February the 12th, ending January 35, 13, with an option to renew the lease for 3 additional periods through January 2016 with an upward adjustment of 3%. The item that day was pulled from the consent agenda, as many items were pulled from the consent agenda today, and I might say that the tone of the discussions today were far less accusatory up until this particular item, and I applaud people for expressing their concerns about this, and I think for the most part people have been quite civil today. The chair recognized Ms. Hilly Angus, an announced candidate for the Board of Supervisors for the newly outlined District 2. She indicated she had never heard of the Mohave County Library Annex. She says she drove to the address in Kingman over the weekend and still could not determine what the library annex was, and she looked into the window. By her measure, the office was 800 square feet, good for only maybe one person. She questioned why $2,000 per month was spent, and the Kingman Library was only approximately 2 miles away and had empty space. She went on the Arizona Corporation Commission website, found the name of the company. It was owned by 3 families, with 3 family members being county employees. These are her words. She questioned why the Mohave County would enter into a contract that would benefit 3 county employees. She stated she did not know the legalities, but she knew it was unethical, improper, and it stinks. Those were her words. She also stated that she talked to someone on the library district board and they had never heard of this library office. By the way, and I think Supervisor Johnson has made it clear that the Board of Supervisors is the district library board. In every aspect of the allegations made by Ms. Angius, she demonstrates her fundamental ignorance about county operations, county business, and procurement policy. Ignorance is not evil, but it's often sometimes dangerous to be making decisions without having all the facts. These unfounded allegations against county staff did not seem to be inhibited by her absence of any knowledge about these facts, and I think I said ignorance again of the facts. It's regrettable that the board meeting on that day had the political resemblance of a Jerry Springer show. A candidate for public office making unsubstantiated, politically motivated allegations that someone was cheating. I rarely respond to those conspiracy rants in the blogs. The opinions and belief of bloggers are most likely gathered secondhand and without any examination of the facts. They're like talk radio. They may be entertaining, but one should rarely take them for reality. We're accustomed to this kind of behavior in a blog, but this was on the public record, and therefore it's my duty to set the record straight. And in my life's experiences, unfounded allegations by someone whose accuser they know nothing about only illustrates the character of the accuser. Therefore, I believe that the person making such allegations would themselves do what they accuse others of doing. We see the world not as it is, but as we are. This disrespectful Jerry Springer-esque behavior exhibited in the boardroom was an embarrassment. It reminded me of a quote I read sometime in the Wall Street Journal. The author said in his experience with politics, he never found that political criticism was ever inhibited by ignorance. According to Ms. Angia's comments on the record, she looked into the window over the weekend, decided the library annex was unfit for library operations. She reported on the record that was maybe 800 square feet, maybe fit for only one employee. She admits she doesn't understand the legalities, and by that observation does not seem to understand the arithmetic of 800 to 2,400 square feet, which is actually the size of that working space. It's a working space that supports 7 staff members representing 7 outlying libraries, supports 2 book mills, and all the books by mail. The leased facility is ideally suited for the purpose for which it was originally leased and remains so today. It was also decided that the Kingman Library has lots of empty space. It was believed there's adequate space at the library for these operations. Again, wrong. She didn't understand the legalities, and she doesn't understand the condition of our libraries. Space is at a premium at that library, and the space is fully used for customers and library staff, and there's no suitable space in that Kingman Library or the other major libraries for this function. So far, it's not what she knows that's relevant, it's what she doesn't know but seems to believe is a problem. She put on her political paradigm and has mistaken the limits of her vision and perspective for the limits of the reality of this. Almost all of what she thinks she knows, in this case, just wasn't so. By her comments, one can infer she believes no business entity with a family member employed in the county is legally entitled to compete or provide outside service on a county contract. Again, wrong. County procurement policy does not discriminate against proposed contractors because someone may like or dislike a person. It does not discriminate because they may have a family member employed by the county. It does not discriminate based on political affiliations, and no county employee is allowed to be involved in the negotiations that may involve a family member. Discrimination, as well as steering or rejecting legitimate contracts for political purposes, in my opinion, not only unethical but rise to the level of illegality. All county contracts are negotiated by a procurement officer, and in this case, a representative of the library staff and a principal from the property management company. And as was related here, there are at least 5 fundamental business factors, none of which can be discriminatory based upon any political assumptions. The following are considered. Is the space suitable for its intended use? And in this case, it's ideally suited for its intended use. Are the terms and conditions reasonable? And in this case, the terms and conditions are indeed reasonable. Is it in the best interest of the county? It is in the best interest of the county if the county would like to continue to supply this function to 7 outlying libraries which go outside of the major cities in the county. And is the price reasonable upon market conditions? And that was determined in a market survey by procurement. And is the budget available? If yes, then the contract is reviewed by staff civil. It goes from procurement to staff civil. The only role in the county manager's office that played in this process was to see that the agenda item package was complete, all necessary participants had signed on the item, and it was ready to go to the board. Actually, it goes to the county clerk sends it to the county manager then endorses it and places it on the board. At that point, it goes to the county clerk, and only then is it submitted to the Board of Supervisors for consideration. This contract followed that exact process. All contract negotiations for this and other contracts are done at an arm's length. Ms. Angius determined that the county manager should not enter into a lease with any family member of a county employee, and for that she's absolutely correct. The county manager does not enter into a lease or any other type of contract with any outside business, much less with someone that's a family member. She also determined that 3 employees were part of the families who owned Orb Property Management Company. Again, wrong. Indicated a Miss Tamara Ross was a part of Orb Development, or Orb Property Management. Miss Tamara Ross is a health department employee who has nothing to do with procurement activities. She's not a member of the Ross family who are part of Orb Property Management. So whoever went into the county personnel system and pulled Miss Ross's name, I regret, Ms. Angius, they gave you bad information. Ms. Orr and Ms. Brooks are family members of the property management company. However, neither Ms. Orr or Ms. Brooks participated in, this time or ever, in any action that would continue or would influence in any manner the contract negotiations. Now, I believe that the staff was asked to take an action solely for political reasons. If there had been legitimate questions asked, we could have answered them. So I can find, in my opinion, and why I sent the letter to the chairman and the county attorney was I found no valid business interest for us to do what we were asked to do. And again, it seems ironic that Supervisor Watson's office, being 12 paces from my office and staff, yet no time before the meeting were there any inquiries about the conditions of legality, suitability, terms and conditions of the cost of the lease. Staff assumed almost after 3 years the supervisor understood fundamental procurement policy, and I believe he does, and that he would inquire if he had questions. After the meeting, he advised staff he pulled this item from the consent agenda at the request of a candidate for county supervisor and campaign chairman. And I hear someone's confronting that to be truth, and I think no matter what, it's irrelevant in any circumstance. In the board meeting, Supervisor Watson made a motion to make a good faith effort to ask the owners to further reduce the rent. During the board discussion, Chairman Johnson, who had clearly read the contract in its backup, pointed out that the contract was already discounted by $6,135.84. In my opinion, good faith negotiations had already been accomplished, legally reviewed, and the cost of this lease has already been decreased from its original form. Nevertheless, upon a motion by Supervisor Watson, staff was asked to pressure the property management company to lower its already discounted base, based solely upon, in my opinion, that they were family members employed by the county, and it appeared to me at that point a favor to a political campaign. As a county manager, I'm all about business and not politics, and that, I'm sure nobody has doubted that any time in my dealings relative to political activity. I've always been vigilant not to allow political solutions to prevail over sound business decisions. I strongly oppose injecting politics into the procurement process. Not only do I believe it would be unethical for me to tamper with a legally negotiated contract for the library annex, I believe it would violate every premise of our procurement code and therefore consider it both unethical and illegal. I didn't play a direct role in the lease negotiations again, nor did Ms. Orr or Ms. Brooks. The mere insinuation that Orb Property Management Group should give more than a discount they offer in that lease because a family member is employed by the county, in my opinion, is an unfair business practice, penalizes the company, the employee, and therefore unreasonable. I'm duty-bound to personally decline to direct staff to reopen negotiations done in good faith by an unbiased procurement officer and validated by legal counsel. Therefore, I respectfully defer to the county attorney for a resolution with the contractor and the board. That's the letter in its entirety. I would now refer to a letter done November 21st, an executive summary from the procurement department, which they drafted on their own and submitted to the Board of Supervisors. There was a market survey done. The 2,400 square feet, as they said, had sufficient space, needs no improvement. In addition to the monthly lease from what was at $1 per square foot, Orb Investment is going to reduce that to 80 cents and to agree to pay the taxes, insurance, common area, sewer, and water expenses. Allegations of conflict of interest. This is from procurement. Public procurement is a very structured and restricted process that operates in accordance with the federal rules and regulations and state statutes. The Mohave County Board of Supervisors unanimously adopted Mohave County Procurement Code in February 2005. The procurement code is substantially based upon the American Bar Association's model procurement code for state and local governments and serves as the foundation for the procurement system outlining the scope, responsibilities, conditions, format, procedures, and requirements for all government procurement activity. Article 2, Section 1, Authority of the Procurement Manager. The procurement code designates and assigns the procurement manager to serve as a central procurement agent for Mohave County. This designation is of critical importance as it removes all involvement in the organization's procurement process from both supervisors and the county manager. The conflict of interest, and I'll go through that. ARS 38503, which people have alleged there's a conflict of interest, states that any public officer or employee of a public agency who has a relative or substantial interest in any contract, sale, purchase, to such agency shall refrain from voting upon or otherwise participating in any manner as an officer or employee in such a contract or sale. In this case, the employees, one that was alleged to be an employee had nothing to do with it, nor did Ms. Brooks nor Ms. Orr. The third document, which once again validates everything that has been said here, I'm not going to go to speak for the county attorney. I will say that the county attorney has validated everything about the propriety, the legality, and the manner in which this contract was done. This is the second time that the county attorney has done a legal vetting on this contract. So that's my perspective from what I saw, and I would either turn it over to the county attorney or go to the pleasure of the board.
Attorney Ekstrom, do you want to read in County Attorney Matt Smith's opinion so we have that on the record?
Supervisor Johnson, board members, you've asked me to read this into the record. It's actually prepared by Bob Taylor, who's the Chief Civil Deputy in the County Attorney's Office. He said, I have been asked to review the process and circumstances regarding the proposed renewal of the Gordon Drive Library Annex lease. I understand the relevant facts as follows. One, the proposed lease is between ORB Investments LLC as landlord and Mohave County Library District as tenant. Two, Beverly Brooks and Yvonne Orr, Mohave County employees, have a financial interest in ORB Investments. Three, the proposed lease was negotiated by Tony Burgett of the Mohave County Procurement Department on behalf of the tenant, and Taylor Ross, managing member of ORB Investments, on behalf of the landlord. Neither Beverly Brooks nor Yvonne Orr participated in the lease negotiations. The Procurement Department researched and compared rental rates for other commercial property within the community and based its negotiations on the data generated. The proposed lease is a renewal lease for space occupied by the library since 2008, which the district has found to be adequate and appropriately located. The proposed lease reduced the rental rate for the space by 26% over the prior years based on current market conditions. Excuse me. I've reviewed the proposed lease, the board action form, and executive summary dated November 21st, 2011, which was prepared by the Procurement Department and which was just read. A letter dated November 18th, 2011 from County Manager Ron Walker, and a letter dated November 16th, 2011 from Taylor Ross, Managing Member of Orb Investments, LLC. I find nothing illegal nor unethical in the process used by procurement in negotiating the proposed lease, and the conflict of interest statutes, ARS 38501, do not prohibit the library district from entering into a lease with an entity in which the county employee has an interest. The procurement code does not require a competitive bidding process with respect to leases for real property. Real property is too unique in terms of location, surrounding, size, and condition to be amenable to selection based on competitive bidding. The process used by procurement in comparing local rental rates and negotiating a reduction in the renewal rate for this space based on market conditions serves procurement's mission to protect public funds and promote competition and fairness. The conflict of interest statutes prohibit any public officer or employee of a public agency who has or whose relative has a financial interest in any contract, sale, or service to such public agency from voting upon or otherwise participating in any manner as an officer or employee in such contract, sale, or purchase. Neither Yvonne Orr nor Beverly Brooks participated in their capacity as county employees in the selection of the site or lease negotiations. That was done by Tony Burgett on behalf of the Procurement Department and Taylor Ross on behalf of Orb Investments. More importantly, neither Yvonne Orr nor Beverly Brooks have any decision-making capacity on behalf of the library district in this matter. The proposed renewal lease does not violate either the procurement code or conflict of interest statutes. The Board of Supervisors, acting as the Board of Directors of the library district, would have a lawful decision to determine whether or not the lease makes good economic sense for space that is needed. And that's dated December 9th.
Thank you. I guess I would go over that just one more time for people that might not understand the process. When something is placed for consideration to the Board of Supervisors. It is first submitted to the clerk of the board. She then distributes that to department heads, and there's a space where it needs to be signed off by the county attorney to make sure that it's true to form and legal and everything, and then they're financed, because if there's any financial matters, and the county manager to make sure it's in keeping with our policy. So this goes through this process, not just this thing, but every item that is submitted. It is then, we try to get it out a week ahead of time before a board meeting so that the public can have all the same documentation that each supervisor has for reading, and then they have a week to go over that and ask questions. So this wasn't the first time that these items have been looked at. So I guess that's just trying to go over that. That is the process. Am I correct on that?
It is a very complete and complicated process that we use to assure that improprieties don't take place.
Right. What is the pleasure of the board?
Chairman Johnson, I would like to
Supervisor Watson.
ask a few questions, if
Sure.
I could, please.
Sure.
Since I'm somewhat implicated in this. Ms. Angus, would you please come to the podium? I just have a very quick question for you. Prior to the meeting concerning this library lease, had you and I ever talked about this lease?
Never.
Have you and I ever talked about any political actions?
Never, ever.
Other than salutary greetings, can you recall any times that we may have had any kind of conversation?
Not more than 2 words ever.
Thank you, Ms. Angus.
Can I say one thing, since my name's now been trashed again in public? For one thing, Mr. Walker, if you're going to libel me, get my name right. It's Hildy Angus. All right, in this whole 15 minutes, there's just one word I want everyone to remember, and that word is compete. This was a non-compete lease, and that is the entire issue. It's not about the renegotiation. I am positive everything you've done about this lease is on the level. That is never what this has been about. Supervisor Watson put that in there at the end about renegotiating the lease. We weren't asking that. I don't care about that. I care about a non-competitive lease going to a county worker, and that's the issue. And not once did anything you read, no matter how you want to insult me, make me look bad, demean my character, it's not going to work, because the facts are the facts, and those are the facts. And you know, I'm telling you something. If you guys are not comfortable, if you guys are not uncomfortable with this, then there's a bigger problem in this county than just this lease. Thank you.
I have one other item that I'd like to make known by this body today. I was somewhat implicated by the fact that there was a person that said that I was not familiar with the procurement process, and that's probably true. I probably don't know the entire procurement process, but in the motion that I made, you folks are just as guilty as I am, because there was a second to the motion, and it was a unanimous decision to pull this over for this long. And find that a little bit insulting. That's all I have to say.
Well, I guess if you want to go there, I guess I will apologize then, because at the time, I was very much aware that we as a board do not have the ability to negotiate contracts nor renegotiate contracts, and just to let it go through the process without, you know, because in the interest of civility, I'm not going to point out something that I think, because it's not up to me, I don't believe, to try to, you know, who knows, maybe I'm right sometimes, maybe I'm wrong sometimes, but I'm not going to say, Supervisor Watson, I think what you're doing is illegal. I think that if that's the direction the board wants to go to have something done, that's what we have a county attorney for, to bring it back, and I think that it worked out the way it should have. I don't believe we're here to embarrass any board members or anybody from the public, so I guess that's the way it should go. And as far as feeling comfortable or uncomfortable with the decision that's being made today, I feel quite comfortable that the law was followed. When you get up here, it's not your feelings that count, it's what the law says you must do. So I feel whichever way the board goes, I'm comfortable with that, and I feel that the county staff did their job and that there's no collusion on anybody's part regarding this lease. What is the pleasure of the board?
I have a couple of things I'd like to just bring up. Does any of the staff know, can any of the old jail be sectioned off, closed off? Does anyone know?
Mr. Chairman, I mean Supervisor Sockwell, I can answer. That space is absolutely not suitable for what we're talking
this is
about here.
the point that I want to make on this. Just as an example, if it can't be sectioned off, it can't be closed off. You're talking about heating and cooling 144,000 square feet to use 2,400 square feet. Don't make sense. I would like just ask staff next month to come back, because we build buildings for certain purposes. I'd like for staff to come back next month and tell the board if they have found any space that could really be used for this library, and how much it would cost the library to use that space.
The general public sees some of these buildings.
Is that all, Supervisor Sockwell?
That's it.
What is the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to make a motion, if I could, please.
Yes,
to make a motion that we accept the proposal for the lease, but in the same token, with Supervisor Sockwell's suggestion that we audit any other space available in the entire county ownership and proceed from there.
Second.
A motion and a second, no further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign, motion carries. Item number 66, discussion possible action to direct staff to prepare a resolution on a letter in opposition to the Arizona Department of Transportation converting a 30-mile segment of Interstate 15 into a toll road. I would make motion for discussion on this item.
Motion for discussion.
Second.
Motion. I brought this back. We had the Supervisor Watson put the plates this on before, and we were going to wait a little while to see what transpired. Since the removal of Russell Pierce as the President of the Senate and the new Pierce taking over, both he and the Speaker of the House have come out on publicly in the newspaper and on television stating that one of their high priorities is the tolling of the road in our area. So I thought that it would be time that maybe we would come back to address this issue to think if we are going to support or put our opposition toward this item. One thing that is, we talked about the roads and how we pay our federal gasoline tax, we pay our state tax, and something that came out recently, and no offense to Fish and Game, or Game and Fish, they do a great job, and Department of Transportation, ADOT, they do fine too. This comes more to policy. I believe they just went up and caught bighorn sheep, brought them down to feed to the mountain lions because the mountain lions don't have enough things to eat. At the same time, we spent millions of dollars to put a bridge up there on the highway so that we didn't kill sheep with the cars, but and now they want to put the tolls in. So, these things, they don't have the money to fix the roads, but we have money for bridges even though we're feeding the sheep to the mountain lions. So I just brought it back to the board to see if we wanted to make a stand so that ADOT would know exactly where we are, or at least where Mohave County feels. I've got a letter I can get into the record from, let's see who sent it out, Department of, make sure I got it right here. Arizona Trucking Association. On behalf of the Arizona Trucking Association, thank you for calling to express concerns about the proposed toll I-15. So they're obviously in opposition to this too because of what it will cost their members and transportation. ADOT representative got a hold of me and wanted to know where we stood, and I told them we would be having the meeting today. They have made it clear that they just want to put in for this project program, but I'm just afraid that Mohave County will be the project, and my suggestion was that the road between Tucson and Phoenix would generate more revenue and seem to make more sense. I just brought it back for the board to see if there's something we wanted to do ahead of time.
Mr. Chairman,
sorry.
Sir.
Would you like them to take a different position today?
I would like to. I would like to take a position in opposition.
I think we should, because, they don't seem to be be short of money when it comes to building roads in Maricopa County. And I think some of those funds could be certainly transferred to this project.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to say that we certainly need to consider, in the event that they did follow through with this, and what are the alternative routes? Alternative routes would be incredibly unsafe for that level of traffic, for those size of vehicles. And the alternative routes, Mike, I believe they're ours, are they not?
And I think while Deputy Manager Hendricks comes up, ADOT also did say that they possibly could look at giving some kind of a variance or a pass for local residents, but still, even though the local residents and employees should go back and forth and require it, I mean, because as we're talking about earlier leases, I mean, we got leases in Utah for county staff. we house them up there. But, you know, the trucking, which runs up the bills, which, you know, makes it harder for us to bring economic development in. Yes, Mr. Hendricks.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I sincerely appreciate you bringing this issue to light, and from a county engineer perspective, I think it's going to be extremely important that we take a hard look at whether we're going to support or actually oppose this issue. On face value, when you put in a toll road, generally you're putting in that toll road because you're providing more convenience to the public, the traveling public, and what people do is they pay for that convenience on the toll roads because they provide better corridors or more efficient transportation. In this instance, we have serious concerns that this toll road could adversely impact the convenience and the safety of our residents up in that area, because from looking at that and traveling that right now, that transportation corridor, it goes right up through the canyon, and any delays could conceivably cause traffic delays and hazards to our residents up in the area. But what also concerns me is that if you start blocking off and inhibiting traffic in that corridor, what the truckers and the rest of the traveling public are going to start looking at is utilizing our County Route 91 to bypass the roadblock, to bypass the bottleneck. And we're just, our road just is not capable of handling what conceivably could be an increase in truck traffic. Our roadway right now, we're trying our best to hold it together for the traffic that we're experiencing. And if we start receiving heavy truck traffic coming down that corridor because of a reluctance to pay a toll, it won't take long before we're going to be looking at a complete rebuild. And I don't believe ADOT's proposal is even considering assisting Mohave County in any form. Now, with that said, I'd like to say we haven't had the opportunity to fully review what they're proposing. So, but on face value, I appreciate your concern, and would be more than happy to have staff draft a letter of opposition, at least initially.
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. Hendricks?
Make a motion that we follow through with staff's recommendation for a letter that we do not support.
Second.
Tolling.
Thank you.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 67, discussion possible action direction the county will take regarding the disposition of land and water rights in regard to pending sale of Planet Ranch to Freeport McMoran Corporation. I put this on. I'd make a motion for discussion.
Second motion.
Water has always been at the center of Arizona life. And since World War II, hundreds of millions of gallons of water have been, in my words, my belief, stolen from Mohave County. Once again, I believe, illegally transferred to another county without any compensation to Mohave County. The mining company taking the water will not tell us how much water has been diverted, nor will they tell Arizona Department of Water Resources. We hear this has a grandfathered right. Sometime around 1916, the state water code was enacted. Not until World War II was the mine operation started with our water being used. They used the World War II Construction Authority to actually build this pipeline. The same is true with the power lines from Parker Dam that were put in without a permit, without right-of-ways, anything else, that uses under the World War II authority. We'll not be breaking new ground here if we go ahead with hiring an attorney. The tribes received a settlement of millions of dollars regarding the illegal taking of their water, which was in the millions of dollars, and the restoration of their water rights. I believe the mining company knows all of this and are attempting to gain the water rights to Planet Ranch to compensate for a lack of any authority for the water that has been pumped these many years out of Wickiup. I believe that we need to proceed in hiring legal counsel to protect the water rights of Mohave County. Nothing grows without water, and Mohave County certainly needs to grow. So that's why I brought it back again. I believe that the water that we're losing over there, they have no rights for that. I believe that they're looking at Planet Ranch, and they've made no attempt to get a hold of Mohave County to mitigate not only losing the tax base, but the water rights. And I think that we need to stick up for Mohave County's interest, especially with the water.
That would be free water to them too, wouldn't it?
Yes. In the lawsuit that the Indian Nation had, they didn't receive, I mean, they received cash donations, you know, back settlement, and then got water rights restored to the Indians. I don't know that water rights will be restored to us, but at least it might stay in Mohave County where the water could be used for Mohave County development. So that's why I brought it for discussion.
I have a couple items I'd like to add to that. Well, back when the mine, which then was Cypress Baghdad, purchased those water rights from the existing ranchers in that area, the legality of that, obviously, is water transfer from one basin to the other. And although I sincerely hope that they don't attack us again, but they probably will, this water transfer from basin to basin cannot continue. So
It's supposed to be illegal, isn't it?
well, the mines are the only ones that are
Mines can do it.
yeah, are exempt from it, as I believe. And so I'd certainly support a letter of.
I would. Absolutely.
So should we look at a letter and then look at possibly, if it goes farther, to at least get some advice from a water attorney?
Be a good idea.
Mr. Chairman, just be noted that we, many moons ago, the board approved a water attorney. We do have an agreement. We work with a water attorney on the Griffith renegotiation, et cetera, et cetera. So we do have one, and it's through at ASIP rates.
Okay, because I know there is an attorney, and I can't remember their name, that was successful with the Indian Nation in their lawsuit, who would probably be intimately aware of this too. So, so would that be in the form of the motion then to go ahead?
In the form of motion, yes.
And I'll second our opposition and look at.
And the motion does mention to not only review it with the county attorney, but also with the water attorney.
Right.
Thank you.
No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 68 is discussion possible action contract and guidelines for the Fair Association and Economic Analysis of the Fairgrounds as continued from December 5th, 2011 Board of Supervisors meeting. Why don't we just take a 5-minute break while we get into that? I think we've got some, there's going to be some stuff presented,
right? You
right?
can do that in 5 minutes?
Well, we'll take a 5-minute break till it.
Okay. Might. Whiskey.
All right, we'll call a meeting back to order. The clerk pointed out that I missed a couple of calls to the public that people had signed up. It was obviously the clerk's fault that they weren't filed in the correct place, so I would ask for a reconsideration of item number 67.
So moved.
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I will now open up item number 67. Jim Canales, would you like to address the board? Is Jim still here? Oh, real fun. Jeannie Kench, is Jeannie Kench still in here? Yeah. Outside too? Mr. Canales, would like to come down and state your name and address and address the board on item number 67, please, sir. Missed the call to the public you had there.
Mr. Supervisors, Madam Clerk, Mr. Walker, Mr. Ekstrom. My name is Jim Canellis. I reside in Central Sacramento Valley, 4402 Oatman Road. I'm a landowner, taxpayer, and voter. I'm also a State of Arizona Master Watershed Steward. I'm here today in regards to this item, land sale of properties owned by Scottsdale, Arizona, known as the Planet Ranch, approximately 8,000 plus acres. I'm honestly surprised at your interest in this land deal, as you have several occasions stated as a board, water issues were not your concern, even to the point of striking 3 words from the Mohave County General Plan, water in perpetuity. Now suddenly you find an interest in land transaction that is, for all intents and purposes, a water issue. As noted in materials from Chairman Johnson, there's also a land value and tax issue for consideration in the public good. The primary, from my point of view, is a water issue. Unlimited, unregulated loss of a valuable resource to this county, its people, and its ability to develop. The city of Scottsdale purchased this land as a water farm some 27 plus years ago. Working on the assumption that trading water credits for the use by the city. This goal has now changed. However, water farming concept is still alive and well in the minds of Freeport, McDolman, and Ron, Gold, and Copper, Inc. in Yavapai County. As you should be aware, there is no limit to the amount of water a mine operation can demand and pump from their wells. They pay no fees and have no regulations. Yes, property values will drop, as well as tax revenue to Mohave County. But for more serious is the vast loss of available potable water to the area. We will see little, if any, job opportunities from the pipeline project and suffer significant resource damages. Further, in the interest of smacking of a Black Mesa fiasco in recent past, only in reverse, the failed project provided absolutely no benefits to the people or government of Mohave County, wasted many man-hours of vocal hearings before the Bureau of Surface Mining, BLM, and now the possibility it could add the Bureau of Reclamations, possibly the National Forest Service, and State Park Services. Is a political fiasco, environmental can of worms just waiting to be opened. I strongly urge you to take whatever steps that you may at your disposal to oppose this project before water supply disaster happens. It's not a matter of when, it's occurring now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Cannell. Sorry I missed you on the earlier. Ms. Jeannie Kinch?
Thank you very much, Chairman Johnson, Supervisor Sockwell, and Watson. This is a very confusing issue, Planet Ranch, and I appreciate all that Chairman Johnson has done to educate himself on water issues. I've been studying water for many, many years, and it's still a very confusing issue because it has everything to do with whether it's surface water, groundwater, river water. Boy, does that make it difficult to understand. I spoke to, and I was concerned about, as Supervisor Johnson was concerned about the amount of money what we would lose as the taxpayers would lose. Because of the money that would come in for revenue for the land. And when I spoke to the assessor's office yesterday, they told me that Scottsdale, according to their records, are no longer owner of that, and that the Biner Cattle Company is. I'm very concerned about that because I didn't know this had all gone through already to the point where they've already changed land ownership. It was an issue I wanted to bring up. And that was for the 6,156 acres that we're talking about, which is, I think, is the majority of it, and then a lot in the pause. They make it sound good when you look at the mining company's website, and they want to trade a portion of the water that they plan on taking, give it back to Bill Williams for conservation. I think that's a wonderful thing, but I'm not going to fall for that in a way, if you want to say it. That always makes things looking good. We're going to give it to the birds. And it's very important, I think, that no matter what we do in the future, we do consider the natural habitats out there in the riparian area and hope that we do somehow manage to keep that for that on the water. Good luck with your plight on this, and thank you again for continuing to support our water issues here in the county.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And the land, part of the problem that bothers myself and the board is that Freeport-McMoran is giving, they want to give the land and some of the water rights to the Fish and Game Service to mitigate, for their destruction of lands in other states and other counties. And why should the residents of Mohave County give up, fee simple land that we have? And granted, it's not that big of a tax bill, but it's still one of the most beautiful places in the state of Arizona. And I did receive, an email from the four-wheelers who were trying to make sure they still continue to have access and passage through there, because what the feds plan on doing is, if they get this, is shut it down to citizens. They will no longer be allowed, it'll be taken away from you taking your children or somebody hiking or... That
would be if it was BLM, sir, but if it
was... Dick Gilbert and his crew down there.
Okay, so the Game and Fish. Okay,
so
that's not good.
They want to put it off limits to everybody, so we thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, those are the people I missed. So do I have the same motion that was made previously?
Got it.
Same second? The clerk still have the same information? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed, same sign, motion carries. We'll move to item number 68, discussion and possible action, contact and guidelines for the Fair Association Economic Analysis of the Fairgrounds, continued from December 5th, 2011. Board of Supervisors meeting. I do have someone signed up for this. Supervisor Watson, would you like to have them speak first? Or you want them speaking first?
Actually, let's have our guest speak first. Good.
Mr. Brian Devenlintz.
Do we need a motion for discussion?
Motion, yeah, I need a
Motion for discussion.
motion and a second, good. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisors, my name is Brian Devensenzi. I live at 4361 Able here in Kingman, Arizona. I'm the president of Route 66 Wings and Wheels, Inc. We're a nonprofit corporation that has spent the last 12 years attempting to put a multifaceted motorsports facility in this community. In the last 14 months, we've had the opportunity to hold numerous motorsports events at the Mohave County Fairgrounds. This started in 2009, in November 2009, with a sand drags event that at that time was deemed to be the largest sand drag event held in the western United States for the last 20 years. We followed that up with a monster truck event in May of 2010, which packed the fairgrounds, followed again by another sand drags event. Since then, these events are no longer able to be held at Mohave County Fairgrounds due to different stipulations by the city and some of the changes that the Mohave County Fairgrounds has done. My reason for speaking is the economic impact of what we're trying to do for this community. And let me repeat, we are a nonprofit corporation. This is a bunch of folks out of this community that felt it was beneficial to go forth and bring motorsports and entertainment events to our community. With the interaction with the fairgrounds, we were extremely successful at doing just that. We brought successful motorsports event and successful revenue generation to Kingman and Mohave County. I hope that in the future, what is done with Mohave County Fairgrounds can only benefit this. Is what we've been trying to do, as I repeat myself, for 12 years, is to put a multifaceted facility in place here in Kingman. Now, we specifically choose Kingman for numerous reasons. Everyone should be aware that there are two other motorsports facilities available in Mohave County currently, Sarah Park and Mohave Valley Raceway. Both of those facilities close for 3 to 4 months out of the year due to inclement weather. It's just too hot. They can't race, they don't get spectators. Kingman doesn't have that situation. We have a model situation in Las Vegas, which recently, I say recently, within the last decade, Las Vegas Motor Speedway built what is considered to be the premier motorsports facility in the United States. They also put an industrial facility, industrial park facility adjacent to that, which at this point is saturated. These type facilities are revenue generation. Motorsports is rapidly growing. Mohave County Fairgrounds has lost numerous different entities that they had using this previously, and we hope that in the future we could do something in conjunction with them, possibly put a facility together that would further benefit Mohave County. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, County Manager Walker? You might have a question. I have a question for you, too.
If you had a more suitable place, you'd be interested in partnering with, let's say Mohave County had a more suitable place where your kinds of activities could be done and promoted?
Absolutely.
You're interested in that?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I have a
Supervisor
question.
Watson?
I have a question for Brian. About how many acres would you require, Brian, for the type of facility that you're looking for? And we've been working on this for quite some time.
Right, and my only hesitation is it's pertinent as to exactly what we're trying to put on that facility. Our primary goal has always been a drag strip, since that is the driving force behind our organization. It's not inclusive to just be a drag strip. We have 3 different entities involved with us at the moment that they're looking at an asphalt drag strip, a sand drag strip, and a motocross facility. So if we're looking at all 3 of those facilities, then I'd have to calculate that specifically to our driving force of the asphalt drag strip, approximately 100 acres. But that's relative also to the type of events we're trying to bring to Mohave County. I've been in contact with the IHRA, which is one of the national sanctioning bodies for drag racing worldwide. For them to bring an event here of what they call a national event, you have to have a minimum of 240 acres. So if we're trying to build ourselves a facility that only is relative to the community, it's different than if we're trying to build a facility that's going to be relative to that kind of situation.
I get you now. So 240, you're international, 40 acres, and you're regional. Is that pretty close?
I think 40 acres is only relevant depending on the shape of the 40 acres.
Yeah. Thank you. That
Okay. I have some questions. You said you're not able to use the land out there because of the Fair Board or because of the City of Kingman?
Combination of both.
Combination of both? Is it the noise and just people
The noise
complaining
ordinance
about
the
that,
city passed,
and you
that's-
can't come to an agreement, or?
Well, here's how the noise ordinance interacted with us. 2 of our events in 2010, the monster truck event. At the conclusion of the event, we had a jet car meltdown, lasted approximately 3 minutes. In that process, that disturbed the community to the point that they have now deemed jet cars not allowed. It doesn't mean we can't do that specific event, but that was a proportionate part of the entertainment of that event. Secondly, the sand drags is more of an impact. They have disallowed the use of top fuel cars. Top fuel cars are the cars that put most of the spectators in the seat, and those spectators pay for the event. Now, that's from the city side of it. As far as from the fairground themselves, they've changed the way the ground can be used. We have a difficult situation in that this fairgrounds has permanent rodeo facilities. That is probably the biggest conflict on the grounds as far as any other events happening there, because that facility can't be moved, and that facility resides in front of the main grandstand area of the whole fairgrounds. For us to put another monster truck show on, the rodeo arena must be moved. For us to put another sand drags event on, even without the Top Fuel cars, the rodeo arena has to be moved. The fair has deemed it no longer a viable thing to move the rodeo arena out of the way. Therefore, we can't use the facility.
You're basically saying it's the configuration.
Yes.
The way it is, yeah. Okay, and then, so the city is basically not working with you, because I know when we had the Sarah Park, for example, there for a while, my office actually ran that, and we just had an ordinance that, well, not an ordinance, but it was just a rule that as of 11 o'clock, we stopped racing. I mean, and that was on the weekend,
correct.
So it wasn't a big deal. But even if you're racing at 1 in the afternoon on a football day, they still don't want you to do it because they don't like the noise? Is that
They didn't put any stipulation in their statement.
right? It wasn't like you had to be
variances.
closed at a certain time or anything. So.
And we followed those guidelines. We were done by 10 p.m.
Right. So basically, they don't want you, is what you're saying here.
Well, what was difficult to swallow, so to speak, is that it was a minimal number of residents that stood up to speak to the city regarding this, and yet the number of people that were in the grandstands should have offset that dramatically. It was a huge difference, but the city has decided to take this position. Now, I don't know. My problem is this. They don't even understand what they passed, and it's kind of, I'll simplify it, I'll explain it to you. To say Top Fuel cars can't run there doesn't make any sense. There are 3 to 4 other classes of cars that are of equal loudness as those cars. So to isolate those out really isn't going to accomplish what they're trying to do. But that was their feeling, and the whole idea of trying to alleviate the best part of the show, which is actually the money generation part of the event, but gee, you can go ahead and still do the event, was very counterproductive.
Right, and then that's just like the boat races. I mean, a lot of people come for the noise. I mean, that's how you
That
know
is
they're
part of
going on,
motorsports.
you know, and it's why people are there. I don't have any other questions. Anybody else have any other questions, gentlemen? Thank you, sir, for
Thank you.
coming in. Supervisor Watson, you've got a big stack of papers there. Do you have something you wanted to?
Well, yes, actually, Travis might want to present this, probably knows a lot more than I do, or possibly even Ron Walker. I didn't author it, so I've only had a chance to review it slightly. Mr. Walker may have some.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure what Supervisor Watson wanted to achieve. If he wants us to go ahead and just talk about, there were some changes, I think, proposed in December the 5th that were to be included in the contract that we can talk about, and I think we can do a synopsis of what we have done from a standpoint here. One thing has already been pointed out is that the long-term suitability today, which is going to be, I'll really net it for you in the economic analysis, that pretty much reached about what it's ever going to be in that spot. Given the noise issues, given the dirt issues, given the traffic issues, given the size of what we have there, I've used the old term, the Peter principle. It's already risen to about the highest level that it's going to be. So as looking at the business side of that, whether it is we or the Fair Association that made a substantial investment to upgrade the stands, I don't know whether there'd be something to upgrade the rodeo arena. In the final analysis, if you put that kind of money, invest in those assets, you're not going to get a long-term return on those assets that would justify any major investment. So Travis, you want to come on up and talk about the economic aspects of this, and then we can, at the board's pleasure, discuss the issues relative to the contractual side.
Sure. Not sure what time it is. Good morning, good afternoon, Chairman and Supervisors. Economic Development recently completed what we call the highest and best use of the fairgrounds site. As a part of that, we put the property through 4 tests. What's legally allowable at the site, what's physically possible at the current site, what's financially and economically feasible at the site, and then the last test was what's maximally productive How do we get as many people into the facility and utilizing that on a year-round basis? When you look at the first two tests, what's legally allowable and physically possible, the result is limited use fairgrounds. And you have the loss of the horse racing. You've got the noise ordinance, which eliminated a pretty big chunk of the profit revenue-making motorsports events. Physically possible, I'm glad to see Brian and the Wings and Wheels people come. Motorsports, we canvassed all of the other fairgrounds in the state, and the consensus is moving away from the horse racing and trying to embrace the motorsports. That's where the money-making events are, and it's something that I think that we need to look at as well. We also included a survey. We worked with the Fair Association to get contact information for all of the fairgrounds users from the last 3-year period. We sent them a survey instrument. Total of 25 surveys went out, and we had a response rate of just over 25%. 75% of the respondents were organized groups, such as Wings and Wheels. And I think the results of that are telling that, you know, because of the seating at the current facility that was done specifically for horse racing, and there's a shortage of seating for the motorsports events and other large rodeo events. You need more seating, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to bring in the temporary seating. You can't set it up in the correct way from my discussions with these groups. So 75% of these groups are organized like Wings and Wheels, and they're saying that that they're willing to partner with us or with the county in some sort of a new facility somewhere when it makes economic sense to do that. Did you have any specific questions?
I do. Go ahead. Yeah. Did you do any kind of an economic forecast? I mean, we have a fairgrounds out there. I've been here for 15 years now. I've never seen anybody say, this is the benefit that this fairgrounds has brought you. And I've been out there a few times, and while I didn't read whatever article they keep referencing in the paper today, I read the paper up here on differences. And I think things have gone down. We've lost events, and you know, because we have the horse racing out there, the money stuff, we lost that. Do we have what the fairgrounds is worth to us? I mean, what economic benefit, you know, does the fairgrounds give us?
There's two parts to that answer. I'd say the first part is an appraisal part when you're looking at what is the land valued at. We worked with a group out of Lake Havasu called the Dean Appraisal Group on the assessment portion to get some land values. We've also spoken to the city of Kingman. And if the county were to take the city's advice, the city would like to see Detroit Avenue and Airfield Avenue extended through the current 2 parcels, which would essentially create 3 parcels, 2 with a multi-use residential use, and then along Detroit you'd almost have a mini commercial corridor there because you have a park, a school, a shopping center, and on the other side you have a vet, another school. On the other side of the freeway you have another school, so you have a whole lot of people there that, you know, maybe you could put some places to eat or some other businesses along Detroit. So that would be the appraisal. I mean, right now there's not a lot of land. I mean, when you look at the Kingman area, the appraiser basically said that the land value at this point in time is immeasurable due to the current economy, the amount of residential properties that are already on the market. So he wouldn't assign a value to it. So in the report, we said that the land value at this point is deemed to be immeasurable for those factors. As far as what is the fairgrounds being used for, in the report we broke it down into 2 general categories: the profit revenue generating events and the community non-generating events. Profit making events, revenue making events were the motorsports, the rodeos. The non-profit making community events were weddings and different types of community events don't generate any revenue for us at all, or for the Fair Association.
Yeah, but, well, one second, Supervisor Sarver, I can't. What, they have a profit and loss. What do we figure the fairgrounds mean money-wise to Mohave County? Do they generate $1 million a year in economic benefit to us? Do they generate $2 million? I mean, and like when you're saying, well, they have a wedding that doesn't generate revenue. Right. Well, it better be breaking even. I mean, they're not in the business of running out our stuff for free. I mean, we're not here to subsidize weddings.
Yeah.
What Supervisor Sockwell always would like to do. We don't do that.
Chairman Johnson, I did not have the chance to take a look at any of the Fair Association's profit and loss statements, so I can't answer that question.
All right, Supervisor Sockwell, you have a question?
You're down to one you only do one rodeo a year, right?
I believe there's an organized group that does one rodeo a year. If you talk to them, they would like to do up to maybe 4 rodeos a year, additional gymkhanas, horse-related events, things like that.
The only one I'm familiar with is the one they hold old Andy Devine days, and that was the only one I was.
Yes, sir. I believe that's the only one that they're having right now.
You had no other questions? I guess going back, I mean, I hate to beat on it, but I mean,
It's fine.
You are our economic development guy. I mean, there's got to be some, you don't have any idea what economic benefit of fairgrounds is, what they bring to the county. I mean, it's not $100 million a year. It's not, I mean, I know you're not going to have I guess it's a positive or a negative. I mean, from everything I've seen that's come forward the board and that I've read in papers and gone out there and seen, it appears to have gone down in value to the public every year and not in value to us. And it just seems to be that somebody's out there running it for their own personal good and they're not adding new events or anything new. So I wouldn't think the economic benefit to the city and the county is that great. I mean,
I'd say that the economic benefit today is more associated with a quality of life amenity than it is with the revenue generator.
Thank you. Manager, do you have any questions?
No, Mr. Chairman. I mean, I can tell you we're giving them 25 grand every year. I know that. I don't know what we're getting back from it. You know, about the only thing we would get back from it would be if they're making sales and collecting the quarter-cent sales tax. Outside of that, I don't know. The county personally.
Right.
The city may get sales tax. The city may fill up hotel rooms, and you know, therefore that's an indirect benefit to us. But it'd be hard. We can certainly get their P&Ls. They got.
Right. Well, I'm just curious. You know, it's like we were talking about the mining up there. We go west. $29 billion does over 42 years. We have a fairgrounds that, you know, hopefully with, you know, and being pretty familiar, especially with the racing side, and, you know, we have the Sarah Park, they have the shooting range, and then we have the racing, and we'd looked at putting in a drag strip, you know, and, you know, a quarter-mile strip and everything, and knowing what all that generates, you know, those could be, you know, big time because, like on a quarter-mile drag strip, I mean, these guys come from all over the country to come out there and, you know, and race if you're giving away, you know, good stuff, and they need the points, and if maybe somebody's not there, so, you know, and the bigger, I don't know, 240 acres seems like a big, good-sized property for just racing, but, you know, and you combine that with other things, you know, I know that motocross is big, you know, and I know we put a free air show on where those kids flip through the air and, you know, I mean, stands were packed for that stuff, you know, the demolition derbies and all those things where it's kept busy every night. I mean, and one of the biggest revenue generators was the food. I mean, you know, food and the beer we made money on. I mean, so they should be generating an awful lot. So I'm looking forward. I guess what is the recommendation? Do we have a recommendation from staff as to what's our?
Well, Mr. Chairman, at this point, I think there was a second issue here other than the best and highest use, and that was there were some requests made at the last board meeting to making some changes in the contractual agreement, and I think. Bill, you want to talk about that? I think we have the changes in the backup, do we not? The contract, or do we have?
Mr. Johnson, Mr. Walker, I don't have them with me, but we've incorporated all the changes that were recommended into the lease agreement, and there is a new draft lease agreement. So as far as that goes, that issue's been dealt with.
Been dealt with. But I think with our contract states that we get out of the contract by selling the property. So if we're going to move ahead, we need to, you know, depending upon which way the board wants to go. If we want to make something that's actually a benefit to the residents of Mohave County, something we can be proud of. And I think a county fair is something that really brings people together. I guess the board would have to decide if we want to look at additional sites, and I can see with the skiddy squeezing this out and everything else, you know, and the funding of it, and
there are other options from a land perspective. From an economic development standpoint, we would not be, depending, and if we put this up for sale and we actually could sell it
right.
at a reasonable price, since we're not being able to measure what the real value is. But there are other options from a land standpoint. It would boil down to if someone was going to work with us on a land donation or something, I would think that they would want to guarantee that we're going to make an investment and actually put a new fairgrounds in at some particular period of time. So the real iffy issue is how would we go about building the infrastructure to really make a viable county fairgrounds.
I guess can staff come back to us if the board wants with an idea of what it would cost? You know, maybe it's a look into the future, but they got their little schematic there, and it has obviously a rodeo, because we are cowboys up here, at least you folks in Kingman are. So we have the cowboy arena, and then we can have the drag racing, and
maybe there's a truck driving school.
Could be a truck driving school there for Tom and his folks. So.
Mr. Chairman, we'll make a stab, but we can take a look at other. Matter of fact, as Travis alluded to, he's talked to other folks who have county fairgrounds. We can go back and take a look at what kind of investment did they make in them, and are they? Bill and I were talking about this earlier. What kind of investment did they make, and are they getting a return on that investment? Bill was speaking specifically about Yavapai. We've had CSA functions in Flagstaff where they have a county park. They don't have those kinds of activities, rodeos. It's more a civic park. They got a podium up there and a stage and that sort of stuff. Yeah, we can take a look and see if we can. Travis, would you agree we can take a look at some of the parks around the state and get a feel for if they'll tell us what their investment was and if they're getting a return on that investment?
Sure, yeah, we can do that. That's fine.
And I guess, Bill, would their Attorney Ekstrom, would that fall under like the sports authority or whatever the county has under where you can do stuff under that?
Mr. Johnson, board members, I think the sports authority statutes require a minimum population of
do they?
250,000 people or something like that. There's a parks maintenance.
Something in the statute. I remember we had something where we could do economic development and then threw it in with stuff.
You have very broad economic development
yeah.
authority under the regular powers of the board.
Yeah, so that would be something. Was that something the board would like to do? And
well, if I could, please.
Sure.
Chairman Johnson, I was fortunate enough to have been involved with the city of Kingman from 1978 to 1982, at which time we invested in the Centennial Park Sports Complex. And I would only be guessing today at what the total ramification of dollars are through that use of that facility. But it's part of it. Part of the mix is the marketing mix, what's going on, tournament play, those kind of things, and of course that translates over into the fairgrounds as different events occur and whatnot. But I can guarantee you that the city of Kingman continues to reap that investment time and week after week after week, and it was a very good decision to make. So if we're going to get into the fairgrounds business, then I would recommend that we take a good, long, hard look, decide what we want to do, and then just make our best effort.
That sounds good. And I agree with you on the tournaments that Kingman has, are tremendous compared to what our other cities have. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is a combined effort because room rates are a little more reasonable here, but I mean, and the weather, people come from all over the country to come out here to play softball, especially softball. So is that in the form of a motion that you were making, Supervisor Watson?
Well, it's kind of a complex motion, but Could you decipher what I was trying to, or attempting to say possibly?
Tell you what, we'll take a look at the practicalities and make an estimate of if we did this type of a park that would include, try to include the interest here, try to include the interest of what we gain from the economic analysis, and say these kinds of things we'd like to do, and get an idea, an estimate of roughly what kind of an investment that is that going to be? How much land would it take to do those kinds of things? I think we could do that, and then bring it back to the board. If you give us a little time to do that, it's going to take some time to do some research with the other folks, and to have Travis be able to work with the people who took the survey, who said, we'd like to do this, and we'd like to do that, and we'd like to do this. So if that's acceptable to the board, we'll move on with that, because again, in summary for me, the park as it is today is a relatively little real value to Mohave County.
I think Jerry'd like to speak to the.
Okay. Sir, would you come up and state your name and address, please, for the record?
Gerald Olson, the 1074 Saguaro Circle, Kingman. I'm currently chairman of the Mohave County Fair Association. We had a meeting last night, and it was reported at our meeting last night that we had 60 events at the fairgrounds, and that's actually up over previous years. So that indicates the utilization of the fairgrounds has increased this past year. Comment I would have with Mr. Lingenfelter's survey, he seems to have talked to everybody. He's talked to Wings and Wheels. He's talked to other fairgrounds. People he's lacked to talk to is the Mohave County Fairgrounds. Has not been at a fair meeting, has not visited with the fair manager, has not visited with me about what goes on at the fairgrounds, what activities are there. So I think we're a little bit lacking in a survey of the fairgrounds when you're not even talking to the current people who are running the fairgrounds. You talk about building a new fairgrounds facilities, that's fine, that's great. You need to decide whether that's going to be a county department or who you want to run it. 25 years ago, the Mohave County Fair Committee was formed from a survey that was done that the county decided to do, and the result of that survey was that the K.C. Williams, I believe, did the survey 25 years ago, and his recommendation was to let the current county fair commission and the fair racing commission take over the fairgrounds as a private entity, so to get it off the books of the county. Because at that time, it was a county department run by the Parks Department. The county wanted to shut down the fairgrounds. In order to keep the fairgrounds open for the citizens of Mohave County, the Mohave County Fair Association was formed. And for the past 25 years, the Mohave County Fair Association has kept the fairgrounds open and kept it running for the citizens of Mohave County. So you need to decide whether, if you're going to build a new fairgrounds, that's great. You need to find out what kind of activities will go to a fairgrounds. If a fairgrounds go to Yucca, that may be good for racing, but will cancer craft fairs go there? Will all the other things that happen at the fairgrounds, will those things go out to Yucca or out to some other facility to utilize the fairgrounds? The fairgrounds does have an intrinsic value to the citizens of Mohave County. I don't know one county in Arizona who doesn't have a fairgrounds except for the Yavapai County Fair that just currently went into bankruptcy, and I don't think we want to hold that up to in esteem that that's something we want to look at. Their county fairgrounds, they built that, put a lot of money into that, and now they're bankrupt and sold, and they do not have a fairgrounds anymore. And that was run by a private entity. So anyway, I hope that in your decisions that you contact or work with the Mohave County Fair Association in deciding what to do with the fair facility.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, this gentleman?
A point well taken. I will tell you what we did was a customer survey more so than talking to them, but it's certainly what he says I absolutely agree with.
Thank you. Mr. Lingenfelter?
Just one point of correction. I didn't myself go over and talk to Errol, the fairgrounds manager, but a member of the Dean Appraisal Group, when he was doing his appraisal, did ask a set of questions to the fairgrounds manager, and those were recorded in the final study. So a survey And a sit-down interview with the fairgrounds manager of the Mohave County Fairgrounds Association was completed and included in the report.
Thank you.
It does sound like, Mr. Chairman, needs to be a little bit more research done
Right.
as to what direction we need to go.
What length of time would you like to give staff?
Yeah.
10 days, 12? Has anybody checked with ORB to see if they have any land available?
I would say we're good. I'm not for sure we're that good. It's collecting all the information. I don't know if they donate it to us or not. But Travis, what do you think? March? March? Not the February, but the March meeting?
I'd say that'd be pressing
Yeah.
pretty hard, because he's got a lot of
Yeah.
information to try to gather.
Yeah.
March meeting?
They'll give you a progress report anyway in March.
Right. 'Cause I think it's going to be like we have in the past, and when we were looking at county offices in Golden Valley, there was enough land donated to put something out there. So we could have people step forward with, donations of land available. And
I'd say it's a great likelihood that
right. But it's just like, you still got to build a stadium and do that stuff. And race car drivers are rich anyway, so we can stick it to those guys real big time.
Well, yeah, then you have decisions on top of that. Is it going to be a convention center?
Right.
Is it all these ties in? So it's a pretty complex issue.
So do you have a motion, Ms. Bracken? You have no idea what we're talking about. Oh.
Red Solo Cup. Proceed to party. I would imagine the motion would be to proceed with research on the possibility of
Continue this. The staff will continue to research the long-term perspectives, and we'll come back and give you a progress report on all the issues we're talking about, the suitability, what would need to be done, what kind of infrastructure, kind of what's around the state, how successful are some of the other places, and looking at the customer survey about what they want to do, then including if there are things that we didn't include in there that are happening, we can try to do that. But that's a lot of very detailed kind of stuff, and collecting information on that sometimes is difficult, particularly getting it out of other counties. So give you a progress report on those issues that we discussed here in March, and I don't know if you need to
All right, we can
have a
continue
motion.
until March to come back with recommendations, and I would say something to look at, because it's just a big wish list now, because Supervisor Watson says we're starting with a rodeo, but depending upon the size of the land, I know when we looked at the master plan for Sarah Park, we invited everybody to sit down, and then you had, rodeo was just a small part, and then you had the racers, and then just like these guys are saying, there's a difference between the guys that drive around in a circle and the guys that go a quarter mile. Don't necessarily friends, And then you might have, a shooting range guys that want to be in there, and, different things. And at the same time, it could be if you have enough land where you put in, RV spaces, because there's people that come up that, need a place, especially nowadays, to stay. So you get an overall plan. Maybe we couldn't do everything at one day, but, eventually it would look out good. So,
Mr. Chairman, it sounds like it could almost be a special meeting when we bring all of this back together.
We could put it in that place you got over there in Bullhead you keep talking about, that park. Do you have that down, ma'am? You need a second now? Do we have a second on Supervisor Watson's motion?
Yes, sir, second.
Have any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? I have no idea.
known as Red Solo Cup.
Is that the last item? I lost my paper. Oh, no, I got one.
Thank you, Ryan.
Discussion possible action, direct staff to review and prepare comments for the chairman's signature regarding problematic environmental impact statement for solar energy development in the 6 southwestern states. I make a motion for discussion on this.
Second.
I submitted the backup where they're looking for comments from us, and I just thought that we would have staff do it, and whatever their comments were, and then get it back for my signature on behalf of Mohave County. The only thing that I thought of, if somebody else has thought of something, is that in California and Nevada, they have come out with requiring the people who are leasing land from BLM to go and purchase private land and give it to them, sometimes at 3-to-1 exchange rate. Well, I think we should stand firm that we are not taking our, land that we are taxing now and giving it to the federal government so they make money on their solar or whatever and then still steal our land and our tax dollars. But the other stuff, I don't know what you guys would want to.
I know, Mike, you guys have looked at this, have you not? Do you have any comments on it at this point, or should we just take Supervisor Johnson's advice here, and anything that jumped out at you so far in looking at it?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this happened, something similar to where Mohave County's been passed by. It has happened recently with another issue, and we've drafted up a letter with all the requirements, federal requirements and state requirements regarding public participation and being a cooperative agency or an intervener in another issue. And so what Development Services has done is they've, with this on the agenda, they've taken a proactive approach to at least start pulling together the information. And yes, Mr. Walker, absolutely, we should be involved in every step of the way. So what we're proposing to do is take a position with the BLM and make sure that Mohave County is involved in the issues and in any decisions that are made. So we should be able to, if the board so chooses, shortly prepare a letter for Supervisor Johnson's signature as what he's recommending. It should accomplish, I believe, what you're proposing.
Does it agree with the motion would be to have staff prepare a statement for the chairman's signature regarding whatever the long 6 states was.
Second motion.
I have a second. We have no further discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Thank you very much. Nice job.